fastest growing startup hubs in the world. And nothing makes us happier than seeing our country getting its due recognition on global platforms. We're also home to some of the most innovative and creative and disruptive startups, from unicorns to early stage companies that are now changing the way we live and work. Startup Sphere, hosted by ICAI, is a platform for bringing together some of the brightest minds from the startup world here in Mumbai. On day two, we are going to hear from founders, investors, and experts who will share their valuable insights with us. I'm confident that a startup sphere will be a valuable learning experience for everyone who attends. I also urge all of you people here to network with fellow entrepreneurs while you're way inside and outside. So, without any further ado, now let's get started. Session one for the day, our panelists are here to discuss the most important topics for startups here today, that is, regulatory policies and government support. And as you know, the Indian government has taken excessive initiative now to help startups grow and succeed in the country. But with all of these changes, still, it can be super hard to keep track of what's important and what's changed. But which is why we have a panel of experts here to explain us the situation and the topic better. Ladies and gentlemen, we are very thrilled to be having all of our guests on stage now. First off, I'd like to call CA Amit D. Kumar, co-founder, R Ventures Capital, on stage. Next up, we have CA Ruchi Singhania, Manager, Corporate Affairs, Maharashtra State Innovation Society. Can we please have a round of applause for all our panelists on the stage? Next up, we have Ms. Namrata Thakkar, Founder, Entrepreneur, Excel. Can you please have Central Council Member, CA CV Chitle? Next up, we have Regional Council Member, CA Ishwar Kumar Javani, on stage. Last but not the least, we have Regional Council Member, CA Gautam Lad, on stage. Okay, since our guests are now seated on stage, we're now moving to our opening remark and a welcome address by CA CV Chitle on stage.
Good morning, friends. Yes, good morning, friends. It's indeed a pleasure to be with you to understand the government and regulatory framework for startups. As we are aware that startups are playing pivotal role in the ecosystem of any economy, and more so in the large economic like India, there are certain challenges that our country is facing, like escalating our GDP from $3 trillion to $5 trillion. And this particular journey would be possible only with the help of new and new entrepreneurs coming in and contributing their bit to this wealth of the nation. Whenever we think of startup, they are not only building wealth for the nation, but also they are providing employment and also satisfying needs of trade, commerce, industry, and even consumers. However, if we look at the journey of startups, the entrepreneurs with fantastic ideas try to contribute their capital and start the businesses. When we learn stories of 10 successful startups, maybe there are 30, 40 unsuccessful startups which we don't understand or which we never have an idea about their failure, the reasons thereof. So if we have to have a clear picture of this ecosystem of startups, we have to present both the successful ones and not so successful ones, so that anybody else venturing into this particular arena would have the clear picture and can take decision in an appropriate manner. In case of startups, there are three focal hurdles. One is paucity of capital. The another is paucity of skilled manpower, and the third is infrastructure. As far as these three hurdles are concerned, maybe everybody has to negotiate, but then considering the job that startups are doing in the interest of our nation, building wealth for the nation, here the government steps in and provides some incentives, some sucker punch for better performance of startups. And at this juncture, when we are having this startup exhibition, the discussions, it is in order that we also understand that how the government ecosystem is trying to support this startup movement, and how the startups can take benefit out of various government policies, procedures, and grants which are made available. And we have three experts in this field who will be sharing their knowledge, their expertise in this particular sphere, so that those who want to enter this arena or those who have already entered this arena would be privy to this information. As far as ICI is concerned, we are having digital learning hub. So whatever lectures, whatever presentations take place in any seminar, any gathering, we put them on digital learning hub. And what we are experiencing, that lakhs of viewers are visiting this our website and taking information, and the sort is available. So if you want to know a particular subject, and if you click with that subject, you will get tens of lectures. If you name the lecturer, you will get all the lectures delivered by him, all the presentations. And therefore, whatever is delivered at this juncture, it is not only for the purpose of today's 1 hour or 1.5 hour, but it would be preserved for years together for the benefit of all the stakeholders who visit the ICI website. And it is free of cost, that they can really understand the topic which is being discussed at this particular juncture. So, with this, I welcome our panel speakers, the specialists in this field, and I'm sure that with the wisdom of their knowledge and their experience and expertise, every one of us will understand. And when it goes to digital learning hub, maybe many more would be able to take benefit and advantage of their discourse. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Chitlesa, for such a great warm welcome. Now we're getting into the panel discussion. Can I please request our panel moderator, CA Amit D. Kumar, to take over the session from here?
Thank you. A very good morning to all of you. Isn't the morning good today? So I'm going to ask again and wish you again so that I get a good response. Wish you a very good morning. Fantastic. When anyone does a very good thing, what do we normally do when we are sitting in the audience? So can we practice a little clapping, because I saw that people are little, yes, keep on going. Yes. Good. That's the energy that I want in this room, so that people hear this applause and then they come into this room and enjoy this session with all of us. So the topic that we have taken today is not a boring topic at all. People think that government regulations, policies, it's not so interesting. But trust me, we are the third largest startup ecosystem in the world. Everybody knows that? Yeah. And how many startups are there now in the country? 1 lakh. 1 lakh registered startups in this country now we have. What is the combined valuation of all these startups? Any idea? Anyone? It's about $500 billion, which is $500 billion. That is what a conservative estimate of the valuation of all the startups that we have taken together. How many unicorns do we have? Anyone? 100 plus unicorns? Now people may say 115 were there. Some obviously unicorns have fallen off the list of unicorns. Now they're only startups. So we have lesser number of unicorns. And the success that India has seen is completely unprecedented when it comes to the startup ecosystem. Now that all has happened in a very, very short span of time. It's not that the startup ecosystem was flourishing since 2000, but I would say it started in the year 2006-7, and in about 15, 16 years time, 17 years time, we have reached a very, very significant milestone, where countries have taken much, much longer to do so. Is that possible only by the ecosystem players, or we need enablers? That's the question. And in our case, in a country like India, it is very, very important that the government keeps on helping us, introducing policies, regulations, and most importantly, giving us SOPs as startups. So I think that's the topic of the discussion today, and we have two fantastic ladies with me, and I have the honor of hosting them as my panelists. We're going to kick off by some knowledge sharing by both of them. And I'm going to be starting with the central government, and then I will come to the state government. So let's start with Namrata. And Namrata, could you just take us through what kind of initiatives the government of India has taken in the past, say, 5, 7 years, which has given that impetus and laid an emphasis a lot to ensure that we become a successful startup ecosystem and we are a force to reckon when it comes to being a startup ecosystem across the globe? Namrata, over to you.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you, Amit, for such a wonderful start. It was very energetic start, and especially Mr. Chandrasekhar to know more about the Central Council. So, Startup India was launched, everyone knows, in 2006, and there are various government policies which have been introduced. So, it is also startup innovation schemes, Atal innovation schemes, which is there, and there is Pradhan Mantri Startup Yojana, which is going on, which is giving a lot of funds right now. So depending on the industry where you are, what type of turnovers your company has, and what funding you are looking for, there are various policies been introduced. And not only with funding, startups are also helped with policies like tax as exemptions to get IP for your startup, and many more innovation center. Like if you go across the door outside, you can see iHub, which is there from Gujarat. And what a wonderful ideas of all these startups are there on this desk. So there are multiple policies. So depending on what you are looking for, there's lots of availability like a menu card. Initially, before 10, 20 years, Amit, if you remember, we used to go to take loans from Munshi ji, जो gold रख के अपने को ब्याज पे पैसे देते थे. We all know those days. Do you remember that? So this in today's VUCA world, yes, sir says he remembers. So today in VUCA worlds, we have investors, we have AHA Ventures, we have Cap Savvy founders sitting here. So these are the people who are giving funds with help of government. We are now getting the policies. So we just have to understand it is the same thing which is happening in different way. So depending on your capacity or your budget, from 10 lakhs to 10 crore loans are possible with government ventures. Thank you.
Thanks, Namrata. I think she beautifully enumerated that we have a lot of schemes. Now, if she keeps on talking about each scheme, we can have a panel for the next 3 hours. So I would really encourage people to first identify what is their need. Okay. Suppose your need is mentoring, then obviously the need is different. And mentoring is something that you can get at a lot of incubators as a part of Atal Incubation Mission. There are a lot of Atal Incubation centers that have opened across the country. Apart from the mentoring, they also help you with funding support. So if you have a great idea, you can submit to these incubators, and then these incubators will evaluate what you have submitted to them, and then they will approve your application, and you can get incubated there. That's the beauty of the Adult Incubation Mission. And when you go there, they not only give you a space, they give you a lot of mentors. There's a pool of mentors that is there, and they help you with a lot of things. Now, for doing that, sometimes the incubators take a little bit of equity, right, ranging from over 2 to 3%. Some of them take about 5 to 6% also. But I always believe in a very, very good thing about equity is it has no value till the time it is sold. So if you're a startup founder and you think that equity is something that you want to keep it very close to your heart, I think that's a fallacy. You should not do that. Initially, you will have to part with some equity if you need funding or you want to get incubated into one of these incubators. And then there are accelerators also that you can go to once you are set, your business is in the growth phase. You can do that as well. Now, she talked about some funding schemes. When we talk about funding schemes, it is not just about startups, but about funds as well. So SIDBI has a fund of funds which earmarked about 10,000 crores plus. They have deployed a lot of money. So we have an angel fund. So if I want, I can go to SIDBI and tell them that I need about 5, 10, 15, 20 crores. I know that is a tough fund for an angel fund, but for VC funds, if you have 50 crores already committed, they can obviously do a matching as well. They can sometimes give 20% of the corpus that you have done so. So they're also helping not only the startups, but also the funds. So the fund of funds is a great scheme that they have also launched. Now coming to, are there any grants that are available to startups? बिना कुछ दिए कुछ मिलता है क्या? मिलता है, ऐसा नहीं कि नहीं मिलता है. So depending upon the sector you are there in, right? So a lot of emphasis is on the healthcare sector. So what happened with the pandemic? Unfortunately, it showed us a mirror. The mirror was not very beautiful because the healthcare system collapsed during the second wave, if people remember. And that is what the government does not want. So they want startups to get into the healthcare startup scheme, and they can give a lot of grants in that. And they are pure grants. You don't need to give them anything in some cases. So that's the beauty of it. So depending upon which sector you're in, you can go and figure out. Now, the last part of the session is also going to be, are there any portals that are there that where I can go and see all India schemes, state-wise schemes, etc. And the best part is the Institute of Chartered Accountants of India also has a portal where you can go and see those schemes. So I'm sure that some of our council members can enlighten us about the same. But leaving aside the central government, the state government has been doing a lot of planning and lot of execution of that in terms of the startup system and the ecosystem as well. So 26 states have already got a startup policy. So if you are registering your startup in any particular state, that state is going to give you some benefits. And we have Ruchi from Maharashtra State Innovation Society, and they work very closely with the government, and I would say it's a pseudo government body if I'm not mistaken. And she is going to be throwing some light on what Maharashtra as a state has done to ensure that the startup ecosystem thrives. And from probably number 3 in this country, you know, we always have Bangalore or Karnataka, then NCR, and then people keep talking about Bombay. What has Maharashtra done so that startups can flourish here in a much better fashion? Ruchi, over to you.
Thank you, Amit. You have been a wonderful moderator. And good morning, all of you. I mean, I hope we keep informed you well about whatever policies we are driving. So, to begin with, Maharashtra State Innovation Society, we are the state nodal agency under the Skill Development Department of Maharashtra government. And we have been formed in the year 2018. So, to be precise, we are a startups ourselves. We are a small team, but a very curated and a professional team working towards the betterment of the startup ecosystem. For that matters, uh, so when I joined the team in 2018, I remember there were close to 5,000 startups in the year 2018. And now Maharashtra has 20,000 registered startups, which is almost 20% of the total quantum of DPIT registered startup, which is 1 lakh startups. And I'm proud that, 25 unicorns are from Maharashtra. So I'm sure we are doing a good work. And to take you through the various initiatives which we have been driving over the last 5 years to support the startup ecosystem, we have our own startup policy. So as Amit mentioned, like all the states have the startup policy. So Maharashtra was the first one rather to come up with its own policy, and it's a beautiful policy, and it has been got tremendous recommendations and applause from all the other states as well. So one of the few of our events or the flagship initiatives which we have been driving, one is a beautiful flagship event called the Maharashtra Startup Week. Now it's a platform wherein we try to bring we play the role of a matchmaker by bringing the government and the startup together. It's a sector agnostic platform, and it's a public procurement platform. So we always hear challenges, when startups come to us, we have this amazing solution, but we are not able to pitch it to the government. They are our stakeholders, they are our customers. So we designed this platform, we invite applications from across the country. And every year we receive close to 2,000 applications. We have done 5 editions of it. And eventually this top 24 winning startups, they get a work order of 15 lakhs. Now, I would like to emphasize, grants are something which encourages startup to work on their prototype to come up with their ideas. But getting a work order is a validation in itself for a startup that, okay, you are doing a phenomenal work and government is one of your relevant customer. And they all, because of this, a lot of startups. So as I mentioned, we have done 5 editions, and the sixth edition, we are opening applications hopefully in a couple of months. And for this, till date, we have already given a work orders to 120 startups close to 12 crores. Now, this is from the public procurement perspective. And I remember the journey in 2018 when we used to go to different government departments to please help up startups, give your pilot, just give them a pilot opportunity. But it's very difficult being a state nodal agency when nobody's aware what innovation is, what startup is. But now the tables have turned. Now the different government departments come to us. Okay, we have this problem. Do you have a startup who can solve this? So the tables have turned, and just to substantiate my work, I mean this particular initiative with the example, we have a very good startup called the Sagar Defense Engineering. I remember doing their pilot in 2018 during the Ganesh Visarjan in the Pune Municipal Corporation. So they collected around 700 kgs of floating waste from the water bodies. They designed an unmanned marine boat, and basis that they got a pilot opportunity in the Allahabad Kumbh Mela. They're now working for the Nasik Kumbh Mela, and they have also designed their drone startup. So this is one startup we have seen, one of the startup we have seen their journey, and now they are on the verge of becoming a unicorn. Now this is from the startup pain point or the public procurement perspective. We have also set up incubation centers across the state. We are funding 18 incubation centers, and it's a grant of 5 crore over a period of 5 years. Now the startup ecosystem is at a very early stage when we started, and we understand that there are these areas where startup needs hand-holding or support. So that's the reason we supported 18 incubation centers. Now 13 of them are in public universities. So we believe that its innovation is, it's not bound by geographies. We are supporting rural as well as urban innovation or incubation centers. Apart from few good incubation centers in Mumbai, Pune, and Nagpur, we also are present in Sangli, Solapur, Gadchiroli, Gondia, where nobody else can do. So this is something which only a government agency can do, because for private people to penetrate in these areas is very difficult. And also it's a long gestation period project. So the purpose of the government was to create awareness among the youth, among the entrepreneurs, that what innovation is and how to drive it forward. And I think we are doing fairly well in this perspective as well. And now these two are the main events which we have I mean, in terms of amount of money involved, this is huge. Apart from that, we have recently launched a venture capital fund. It's a 200 crore fund where now government will be investing directly in startups. Now, this is a fund which is launched by our department, which is the skill development department. But apart from that, there are three funds which are already in market, wherein government of Maharashtra was already investing. It was a defense and aerospace fund, which is again a fund of 380 crores by the Department of Industries of Maharashtra. And then we have a social impact fund, which is around again 200 crores, and a fund to support the SC/ST entrepreneurs and backward community entrepreneurs. It's a very good move, and although it's a small corpus, but again, they're doing wonders from that perspective. And to touch on the rural innovation, we also launched a startup Yatra. So we did the second edition, and mid-July we'll be launching the third edition of this. And we touched close to 3,000 innovators across the state of Maharashtra. It's a huge project, and we collaborate with all the partners across, be it incubators, be it investors, be it colleges, and I'm sure, I mean, through this initiative, we'll be able to touch all the innovations across the state, and we are at the forefront of supporting this innovation ecosystem. Thank you so much. Thanks.
Just to supplement
Great.
Ruchi,
Yeah, I think
Madam.
the Maharashtra government definitely and MSIs, there is a round of applause for all the lovely work that is happening in the startup ecosystem. So, Ruchi, a quick one was,
I'll just supplement her.
yeah,
You'll be happy to note that this particular startup summit was inaugurated by Honorable Minister of Industries for Maharashtra, Uday Samanji. And in his inaugural speech itself, he stated that the government is organizing towards end of this calendar year a magnetic Maharashtra trade fair for all industries. I'm sure that these startups also will find place in this particular summit. And you'll be happy to note that ICI president has been invited to be on the organizing committee. So it'll surely ensure that startups also are part of this magnetic Maharashtra, wherein they are trying to invite Honorable Prime Minister to inaugurate. So certainly it will be on a global scale. So that will be one more opportunity for showcasing for this MSMEs and startups. Thank you.
fantastic. Ruchi, one quick one was, if the startups here and at large want to know about the schemes that Maharashtra government has or MSIS has, which portal should they visit, and where they can find that out?
We have a very dedicated portal for our startups across the state. It's called www.msins.in. And I'll share the coordinates with the team here. You can reach out to them, you can reach out to me, and we are very active on social media. Please follow our LinkedIn, Twitter, social handles, all our events, all our stakeholder events, everything, whatever we are coming up with is right there on social media. And if you find any difficulty, please reach out to us. We'll be more than happy to help you. Thank you.
Fabulous. Thanks, Ruchi. No, one of the things which we always do is that we are now on the global stage. The world is one place, especially when it comes to post-pandemic. We're talking about the fact that now we are going to be the third largest economy by 2030, and Prime Minister Modi was there at United States, and he has made this statement. And I'm sure that if he has made a statement, we're going to be achieving it very, very soon. Having said that, I want to throw a quick question to Namrata. When it comes to the policies, regulations across the world, and we compare the startup ecosystems across the world, how are we stacked against them? Uh, are these policies across the world much better, or what we are doing is also at par, and if not anything else, if not, as I said, above, but at least at par with global standards?
Wonderful question, Amit. I have very closely worked with Government of Australia. Friends, just to add, I am an Australian citizen and I have worked with Australian government for policies. And UK and America also are doing wonderful job to that extent that last month when our dear Prime Minister visited Australia, a full suburb was named as Little India. That is the respect that is given to Indian startup, and they all want to invest in India, and they have contacted us in various means. Yesterday, there was Consul General of Mexico over here and Mauritius. They also told about various schemes. But when I'm listening to Ruchi and Mr. Chandrasekhar about what's happening in Maharashtra, I feel we are proud to be in Maharashtra. The support, the hand holding, what we are getting here, it is like phenomenon, and proud to be a Mumbaiite and being here. And I'm also part of Stanford Seed. Friends, if any one of you want to get international funding or connect to the investors there, Stanford Seed is hand holding and teaching you all areas of business. It's not only about peer learning, but hand holding about your particular problems and marketing. And so is done by IIM Bangalore, especially for women they are doing. So international policies are very good, but because we are sitting here, US and UK and Australia are doing since long, but India has broken all the records. That's what I would like to say.
So at ICI also, we are not only training chartered accountants to advise entrepreneurs and the startup, but also encouraging chartered accountants to come out with startups. And out of these unicorns, there are number of chartered accountants who are parts, as well as number of chartered accountants have started their startups. Initially, that is in the field of taxation, accounting, etc. But slowly it will digress into other fields as well. So we'll certainly come to Stanford and Australia for the purpose of funds. Thank you.
Thank you. Fantastic. Like I mentioned, that whenever we talk about the startup ecosystem in the country, we always talk about that Bangalore has got a very thriving startup ecosystem. People love going there, founders love going there. Although the traffic is worse than Bombay, but still people love going there. Then there's also NCR, a lot of startups, a lot of unicorns. So the question is to Ruchi, in terms of the startup policies that say Karnataka has made, or say the government of Delhi, or maybe Haryana, or UP has made, because when I say NCR, all the three places are generally covered. So how are we stacked up against those states when it comes to our policies? And what are the things that probably we can do to attract more startups into Bombay, and Bombay becomes the number one, or Maharashtra becomes the number one state in terms of startups wanting to come and register here and operate here, rather than going to say Bangalore or Delhi?
Thank you for this question, Amit. A very pertinent question, which we, as the state nodal agency, have also been pondering upon. So there, although Maharashtra was the early mover, had an early mover advantage, and being the fintech city of the country, we had a lot of startups in the fintech space. But we definitely saw a lot of startups going away from Maharashtra in terms of real estate cost, which was getting high for them, availability of good talent, specifically from the tech industry, which was largely available in Hyderabad, Telangana, and Bangalore. So to answer this or to solve this, we are revamping our policy. The current policy was for 5-year period. Now we are revamping our policy, and we're also working closely with the industries department. So as per the recent discussion, which is still under discussion, and the industries department or the government of Maharashtra is coming up with a huge tech park called the M Hub. It will be a 500 crore worth tech park, which will be like all the solutions pertaining to the startup and MSME, which will be under one roof. Be like it will be a high tech integrated startup park, and mostly it will be situated in Mumbai. We are not sure about the area which it will be because it's a huge project covering almost 2 lakh square feet of space, which we are aiming at. Apart from that, we have also we have come up with a dedicated IT and ITS policy. So the focus is more on AI, ML, blockchain, and all the digital infrastructure which the world is heading towards, and we don't want to lag behind. So there's a dedicated policy coming up, and there are plans to subsidize real estate under this policy to provide at a more digital provide a better digital infrastructure to all these startups and investors or other stakeholders of the community which you are working closely with. Lot of grants have been planned, and special support will be extended to startups led by women or other communities who have been trying their best to come up with their innovation. They definitely, as a government nodal agency or as the government, we do need to support them because ultimately it's all about making money. So investors and all, they take their own sweet time, to support these investors, to entrepreneurs. But as a government, we do have a area or a thrust on supporting the social impact or as an angle of social impact, so working on those lines as well. And again, a dedicated policy on supporting animation and visual effects is also in place. We will be coming up with a lot of subsidy and grants in terms of power tariff, GST reimbursement, and certain tax holidays. It's just that it's under discussion, so I don't have much details which I can divulge to you. But we have taken the feedback from the ecosystem, and we do want to retain that spot, being the top performer or under the third best startup ecosystem in the country. And we are trying our best to retain that spot and work towards that. Thank you.
Thanks, Ruchi. I think that is very, very helpful and encouraging that we are getting such a huge tech park out here in Bombay or around Bombay. It really depends upon when it comes. Uh, the question that I have for both the panelists is that we have seen a lot of regulations, a lot of policies, but we have a problem in life, right? Ye dil mange more. So, what do we want more? What is the wish list that we can submit as, say, maybe the Institute of Chartered Accountants of India, or because we obviously help the government in framing a lot of policies, not only around what we are doing, but also around the startup ecosystem. So, starting with you, Namrata, what is the wish list you have that the government should come up with so that the startup ecosystem get a little more boost and more people start investing in startups and more entrepreneurs can also be born? And then, yeah, Ruchi, you can also present your wish list as well. Namrata.
So there has to be one single body because lots of people are confused that where to go for funding and what to do. But luckily there are agents around. If anyone wants any agents to connect to any of the policies, there are agents who make the whole process very seamless. So if there is one platform where every one of us come together, where there's discussion and there's peer learning which is happening, like Fiki Flow is also doing something very important for that. So if all the organization come together, there'll be less confusion and there'll be one person in Maharashtra responsible for funding of all the startups. Now people are realizing, even the normal individual, that instead of investing in properties or gold, they want to invest in startup, and they come to us in our office and we meet them every single day that they want, it can be as small amount as around 1 lakh rupees also. They are ready to invest in startup to take the minimum stake. So that sort of awareness has to be more spread so everyone can help each other and we as a whole country can grow. Thank you.
Thanks, Namrata. That was very useful. Now, a certain wish list which I have working closely with the startup ecosystem and part of the nodal agency, we feel that startups should get more opportunity when it comes to procurement by the government directly. Although Government of India has launched a GEM portal and we are also trying our best. So we are working towards making a more relaxed procurement policy. Although there is a mandate by the Maharashtra government, that the direct procurement should happen from the startup by giving them relaxation in terms of turnover requirements, earnest money deposit requirements, but we are working so that there should be a dedicated percentage which every department should be assigned, so that there's no too many questions asked for a startup, 3-year financial statement, 10-year statements, what is your net worth, and they can directly, show their innovative product or service to the government and can directly be acquired by the government for that matter. And one more pain point or wish list is something startups feel is the funding challenge which they face. Although a lot of funding is available in the market, but there are a lot of startups which are working in deep tech, and their products need a lot of research and development there, and they need a lot of hand holding, and the gestation period is long. Now, when it comes to the private investing space, VCs are working on a strict timeline because they are also answerable. They need a return on equity on a quick basis. So in that space, we'd like to step in. Although we have started that by launching our own fund, but we'll also want to invest in multiple fund of funds, and we might come up with a fund of funds in future, wherein we will be investing in different startups. Basis particular themes, and that is something I think will ensure a lot of sanity in the startup ecosystem in terms of funding requirements and addressing the pain points when it comes to procurement by the government at large. That's it. Thank you.
I think as far as what Namrata mentioned, that people can invest 1 lakh rupees, 10,000 rupees in startups. But then when the invitation is made to number of investors, I think SEBI steps in. So some SEBI also will have to address the policy of soliciting investment by startups and such other entities, because they do not afford the expenditure of public issue and those things. So maybe we will also actively think of engaging with SEBI and trying to create some green room path for the purpose of startups.
So that's a very wonderful point. I mean, so there's this unlisted securities market which is already there, where a lot of startups try to raise funds, but regulation definitely needs to be there. And if Institute of Chartered Accountants can take that lead, I think SEBI and all the other market regulators will be happy to, think in that direction and work towards that.
So SEBI is situated in Maharashtra. So government agency, as a government, you also can take up this.
So, sir, to emphasize that, we can work together as we always do and
Certainly.
can definitely bring an impact in the ecosystem.
Certainly.
Our Institute of Chartered Accountants also in the bracket we always write set up by an act of parliament, right? So
Right.
so we are, so we are also regulated by, I think, the government in in some way or the other. Well, there are a couple of points that I wanted to add here and want some inputs from the panel as well. So whenever you invest in startups as investors, there's obviously an exit that can happen and you can make a lot of money. There's a tax aspect to the entire thing. So today what happens, the holding period for unlisted securities is 24 months. And after 24 months, you need to pay a capital gains tax of 20% plus whenever you make that exit or you make profits basically. So I think one of the suggestions that has always been floating around, and we were expecting something in this budget, but I think our honorable finance minister did not accede to that request, but bring parity when it comes to listed and unlisted securities. So the unlisted securities is 20%, listed is 10%, but the holding period is about 12 months. So the startup ecosystem is wanting that we should reduce the capital gains tax and bring it at par with listed securities at 10%. In fact, the startup ecosystem has been very, very ambitious in asking for 5%. We're saying that आधा तो कर दो 10 का, so that more and more people can come forward and start investing in startups. I think that is something which is in the offing, and I'm sure that over a period of time that will happen. Now, another thing which we have been talking about is that we have listed securities, we have BSE, we have NSE, and we can trade those securities. But what about unlisted securities? Why don't we have a secondary exchange? When if I am holding securities of an X startup, tomorrow Ruchi can buy it and she can again sell it and Namrata can buy it. So then the market is in a way regulating the price and the valuations that we are getting from registered valuers or merchant bankers is just not on paper, but the value is real, right? If I want to exit. Now, the exit in a startup is the biggest problem. The liquidity, like we call it, is one of the biggest problems in unlisted securities. And if I have to liquidate, suppose I'm holding, equity of a startup, I have to first go and take an approval from all the shareholders, and EGM needs to be called, etc., etc. So if there is a secondary exchange, things can become much better. Liquidity for me will be easier. So as a fund, whenever we go and talk to our prospective LPs, we always face these challenges. Tax बहुत ज़्यादा है, liquidity तो है नहीं, return तो कब मिलेगा पता नहीं, इससे अच्छा तो मैं stock market में डाल देता हूँ पैसा. So that is what is the pushback that we get from all our investors. But we do to convince them. I'm good at selling, so I will do that. But that can't happen incessantly, right? We have about 25, 30,000 angel investors in this country today. We need much more angel investors, but this is something that is there. So what is
So-
your take on the secondary exchange? Sir, how about you? Yeah.
Yeah, whatever idea you have thought of, maybe in those lines, not exactly on startups, but on other sphere, the SEBI has started working. And actually, the social stock exchange is in place. ICI has put up all the framework of social stock exchange. And in social stock exchange, NGOs can list themselves and they can solicit funds by donations, by loans, etc. So the idea of having specialized stock exchanges for specialized purpose is already there with the SEBI. So I think this idea will certainly come. Maybe not all public, but at least angel investors can register themselves so that the shares can change hands with minimal cost and the market is available. But that is a good idea because then you are not stuck up with a particular startup. Even if you want to exit, maybe some room is available, and certainly we will actively work on this. Let us see. We can suggest SEBI. Some framework is required to be given so that at ICI we can take lead in doing it.
Fabulous. Namrata and Ruchi, anything from your side on this particular topic?
Yeah, so because we have a community of 80,000 entrepreneurs who are constantly dealing with these issues every single day, so we need a lot of angel investors in our country. Whether we agree or no, we are way, way short of what we need right now. So the more investors we get and the more we spread the awareness, every startup will get the support what they need apart from incubations and other things. Thank you.
So, it's a very valid question or a very valid topic. You know, we have a National Stock Exchange, a Bombay Stock Exchange. Now we also have a SMA listing, like only limited entities are listed there. But when it comes to startup, they are always in need of funds, you know, and when it comes to the funders, they always want to exit at a very good valuation, at a very good returns. So to ideally to come up to a solution, an exchange is needed, you know, where there's more transparency, it's more regulated, and startups know where they actually stand in terms of valuation, in terms of financial transparency, and investors know, you know, at what price they want to exit. Now when a stock gets listed on a exchange, we get to know the various attributes to a particular script, you know, how the founders are, how the shareholders are, what is the pattern, what is the market dynamics against that particular script. But until unless it's not regulated, we are not aware of these pertinent or important aspects of a particular company. So if this regulation comes into place, there will be a lot of clarity in both the aspects, when whether it is investor or the startups. There will be an automatic market correction as it happens in the current scenario as well. And it's an aspirational topic again, but I'm sure that in coming years, we will definitely have an exchange where only unlisted securities can be taken care of. And eventually these unlisted securities, when they're on the way to listing or becoming a unicorn, it's an easy transition for them also from an exchange which is for unlisted to move to a BSC or an NSC. We have seen successful startups like Nika, uh, who was in the unlisted domain. They were doing phenomenally well and then they got listed. Zomato, obviously. Then we had LIC as well. It's not doing well, I'm sure, but it was doing fairly well in the unlisted domain. So once they came into the, if taking a LIC example, they were doing phenomenally well in the unlisted space. But once they got listed, there was a huge market correction which happened. So that was not, that was a set of information which was not available to public at a large because it was an unregulated market. So if something the government at the central and the state level, and more importantly, the regulator of the market, which is SEBI, if they can take this certain feedbacks and work on that, I'm sure a lot of transparency and sanity will prevail in the market in terms of unlisted securities, and it will benefit the ecosystem as a whole. That is my take on this topic. Thank you.
And for seamless change of hands, as far as shares are concerned, tax laws also play a pivotal role. Because in the initial period, startups meet with loss. But that every dark cloud is having silver age. So that loss also is an asset in a sense that when profit is earned, 25% tax can be saved. But then there is a rule that 51% of shareholding should be identical in the year of loss and in the year of profit for the purpose of set off. Some relaxation has been made in income tax law, but there is scope for making it further seamless so that you can easily transfer the shares. Maybe when you see the bright future, even if there is loss, you will get some price and that amount also will get discounted. So maybe on those lines, we are already suggesting through ICAI to the finance ministry.
Awesome. Thank you so much for all these inputs. Now, one final question I have is around the portal that we have of ICI, wherein you've got our policies, processes, etc. So, if you can just highlight that portal so that people can actually go and look at that portal and they will have state-wise policies of startups actually being listed there.
As far as startups are concerned or any industry is concerned, policies are at two levels. One is by the central government and one is by the state government. As far as incentives and other aspects are concerned, predominantly it comes from state government. So from state to state, these policies keep on varying. So at MSME, when we were deliberating on this issue couple of years ago, we realized that across the board, there is no portal available which will inform, because those who are coming from abroad or those who want to set up any startup, they have choice of location. It is not that if they are from Maharashtra, they can set up their unit only in Maharashtra. They can state in Karnataka, Gujarat, anywhere. So he will have to consider which state is offering better incentives for the purpose of field in which the startup is operating. So with this view in mind, the ICI compiled policies of all the state governments, central government, and they have put up in a portal of this our MSME committee, so that any stakeholder, any chartered accountant who is desirous of knowing policies, he can understand those by visiting the portal and assist in taking decision where he should go and how he should uh, access to those incentives which are available. Our only request to the governments is, whenever they amend any policy, change any policy, if they inform ICI, we will promptly put it on our website. It takes some time because we are also keeping vigil on whatever developments are taking place statewide. But with all these number of states, at times it becomes a challenge to have information from all the states. So if governments also support us by for updating this portal, that would be beneficial. But at present, we are making utmost efforts to enlighten the stakeholders about availability of all the policies on our web portal. And I also solicit, if you notice that it needs some improvement, what is that, you inform us, we will improve ourselves. Thank you.
Thank you. That was very, very helpful. I think I also have seen the portal. They keep on updating. As Sir has said, there is always a possibility that it's not updated the way it should be. But I'm sure that, at least MSIS and the other people are taking cognizance of the same. And the portals become stronger because we face it as a fund also. That if we want to go for a grant or we want to go for a SOP or what are the tax benefits, etc., there is not a single portal which actually gives you a bird's eye view that if I'm registering myself in Maharashtra or in Karnataka, what are the advantages that I'm going to be getting. Now Namrata mentioned there are people who help you with that. Well, if there is a portal, we don't need, and I'm not talking about taking away business from some people, but that is how it should be. We are in a digital era. And finally, I think a lot of people keep asking me, how do we get a Startup India certificate, or can somebody help us? People charge some random 5,000, 10,000 to get a Startup India certificate and get a DPIIT registration done. Well, trust me, I have done a DPIIT registration for one of my friends sitting just on the portal in about 15 minutes time. It's so easy. All you need to do is know what you're putting. You need to just put what is your unique idea, what are you trying to achieve, and how you're going to be helping some people with employment and things like that. It's so simple. And I have honestly, unless and until you have made a glaring error, seen that somebody has been rejected for getting a DPIIT registration. The government wants you to get registered. They want you to take exemptions of angel tax so that you don't face challenges later on. And the best part about that is once you even apply for exemption of angel tax, it is from retrospective effect, the time the company had actually registered. So even if you do it after 1.5, 2 years, it gets action from the day your company was incorporated. So which is great. So having said that, if there are no other closing remarks to be made, sir, if you want to say a few words, you may, and then I'll
No,
just close the
you
session.
said that you could do it yourself, and I really feel that you could do it yourself. But still, if you have any difficulties, there are 3 lakh chartered accountants who are available to assist you, and they will be considerate in charging fees. Don't worry about it.
Exactly my point. That's why I said not at the cost of making people do that, but I think DIY, do it yourself, is the motto of the day nowadays, and that is what really happens. Let me also take this opportunity to thank the Institute of Chartered Accountants of India for such a fabulous event. I was privileged to be a part of the organizing committee, also working closely with all the members, and I'm really happy and proud to be a chartered accountant. Although I don't use the CA prefix before my name because we just run a fund. So I believe that if you don't practice, you should not prefixing your name with a CA. And thank you to the esteemed panel, Namrata, Ruchi, fantastic having you ladies around. And I'm sure that especially with MSIS supporting us all the way, there is no doubt about the fact that Maharashtra will come out to become the #1 destination of choice for startups very, very soon.
Thank you so much, Amit. I would like to take this opportunity for thanking the Institute of Chartered Accountants of India, my alma mater. I'm happy to be a part of this panel, and I definitely take pride. This chartered accountancy has shaped my career as well as me very personally, and because it is because of this degree that I land up here as a panelist, and I can share my thoughts and give my inputs to the public policy decision also at large at my entity. So thank you so much for organizing this, and I'm very happy. There was a time when I was thinking, when will the institute work for the startups or come up with something grand like a startup event, so that there's more awareness, because the network which the institute carries is humongous, and we take pride in being a part of this network. And I'm glad that this startup sphere is happening in Mumbai. And thank you so much for organizing this and having me for here. Thank you, Amit, for being a wonderful moderator and a co-host. And Amrita, it was pleasure meeting you. Thank you so much.
Ladies and gentlemen, we are cutting short on the question and answer round from the audience because now we are moving forward. First of all, it's been a wonderful panel. We were really looking forward to have the discussion around here. And we're super glad to have all the experts from on the ground to help us understand the situation better. Now, to grace our guests, we are now moving forward to our memento ceremony. So, can we please have the mementos around the stage? To facilitate our guests, can you please have Central Council member C.V. Chitle now giving the memento to Amit D. Kumar, who is the co-founder of AHA Ventures Fund. Can we please have a round of applause? Our next memento will be given from Regional Council member C.A. Ishwar Kumar Javani to Ruchi Singhania, Manager, Corporate Officer, Maharashtra State Innovation Society. And our last memento for the session will be going to from Regional Council member C.A. Gautam Lath to Ms. Namrata Thakkar, Founder, Entrepreneur Excel. Can you please assemble for a guest group photo? Okay, I request our guests to be seated again. To wrap up the session, can I please request Regional Council members C.A. Ishwar Kumar Javani on stage for a vote of thanks now.
Thank you, MOC. Respected dignitaries on the dais, CA CV Chitle, CCM, CA Amit D. Kumar, CA Ruchi Singhania, Ms. Namrata Thakkar, my regional council colleague Gautam Latji, and my dear friends. A very good noon to all of you. It gives me an immense pleasure to propose formal vote of thanks on behalf of ICI. We are very much thankful, sir, madam, you have guided us on the regulatory policies and government support for the startups. We are also keen to listen to the angel investors to get the representation, so that we at ICI can do the representation for the secondary market regulations to the SEBI. With this, I thank you all. Thank you all.
Ladies and gentlemen, I now request all of you to move to hall number A. We have a special address by former President Ramnath Kovind. I'll repeat, hall number A. You all to please be seated at your seats. And all the panelists, I request you all to please be seated in the first row now. Welcome again, everybody. This is session number 2 of the Startup Sphere 2023, hosted by ICAI. We're glad to have all of you back here after lunch. We also hope you had a great time interacting with everyone around here with some yummy food on your table. Okay, it's time now for what should be one of the most relevant, insightful, and exciting sessions for all the CA aspirants and practicing CAs, as we are now going to discuss how and what are the many chances the startup era presents for the chartered accountants in the country. As you know, the startup ecosystem in India is booming, with new businesses being launched every single day. The growth has created a huge demand for CAs with the skills and knowledge to help the businesses succeed. In these sessions, we'll be hearing from some of the most leading experts in the field of CA and startups. They'll be sharing their insights on the latest trends in the startup ecosystem, as well as the specific skills and knowledge that CAs need to be successful in this thriving environment. To now quickly jump to our panel discussion, can I please have all the guests on stage? I'll now go on to introduce our guests specifically. First off, can we have CA Sunil Garg, partner Verma Garg and Associates on stage? Can you please have a round of applause for the panelists here? Next up, can we have CA Anil Goyal, founder of Cap Savvy? We now have CA Mukesh Mohan Gupta, President, Chamber of India, MSME, on stage. Next up, we have CA Deepak Dhana, co-founder and CEO of DocuX.ai. Now we have CA Sunil Garg, Director, Corporate World Samadhan P Limited. We have now Regional Council member CA Saurav Ajmera on stage. And last up, we have Regional Council member CA Rudyesh Pankhania on stage. We welcome all the panelists on stage now. Now that all the guests are seated in their respective seats on the stage, can I please request CA Saurav Ajmera, Secretary WIRC, to start the session by giving us a warm welcome and an opening remark.
Thank you, Amosi. Dignitaries on the dais, Speaker, CA Anil Goyal ji, CA Mukesh Gupta ji, CA Sunil Garg, and sir, over to you. And friends, when we discuss about the opportunities of startup, this is the you can say highly discussed area nowadays. Whenever we are going in any conference related to startup or any tech conference, everyone is asking what kind of opportunities is available for startup for CA. So friends, from ideation to funding round, we have various opportunities which we can engage for our profession. Friends, I am the chairman of this startup committee at WRC, and we have organized so many programs where we have discussed alternative funding arrangement for startup. Nowadays, startup are looking for alternative fund arrangement like vendor discounting, bill discounting. These kind of opportunities also available with us. Apart from compliance management, when we are discussing about the funding, we have to do due diligence. That is the core area where we can explore. And friends, when we are drafting founder and co-founder agreements, there also we are discussing about the opportunities for CAs. So we have various opportunities, and our eminent panel of speaker speakers will throw light how we can play a vital role in the growth of startup ecosystem. With that, I thank all the speakers for their consent to join over here. Over to you, Anil Goyal sir.
Thank you, Saurav sir, for such a great warm welcome. I'm calling our moderator for the session. He's CA Anil Goyal, founder of Cap Savvy, a renowned financial and business strategy advisory firm, and co-founder of Cap 70 Angels, an angel investment network focusing on early age startups. He's also an accomplished finance profession with over 30 years of experience, excels in finance and business strategy. His remarkable success is in raising over $2 billion for startups and SMEs has established him as a highly sought after advisor. We're super grateful to have you here, sir. You can now take over the session from here.
Thank you for this lovely introduction, and thank you, Saurabh Ajmeraji, for setting the base for today's topic of discussion. The topic is very important because this is the event organized by CA Institute, by chartered accountants, and for chartered accountants, and especially for startups. So there are very important areas where we can play a vital role as chartered accountants in shaping up the startups, and the topic is very nice. So I'm fortunate enough that I have been given this topic to moderate, and fellow senior chartered accountants I'll be interacting. Few background of today's topic and what we can do in terms of startup led economy. So in next 2 days of time rather, we'll be celebrating 75 years of existence of Chartered Accountant of India. So a clap for those 75 years of nurturing the Indian economy. And since 1949, the establishment of Act, Indian economy has evolved over 5 stages. The first stage, right after the independence, we were the torchbearer in terms of setting the base or the milestone or creating the foundation for Indian economy, because we were led by English-led economy, and now after independence, the role of chartered accountant became very vital, and that is where the act came into play. And since then, Indian economy has transitions through several stages, right from license Raj, we all know, permits, liberalization, and today we are at startup-led economy. India has become third largest platform for global startup ecosystem, and nearly 1 lakh startup have registered with Government of India, and about 100 plus unicorns have been formed so far. The overall valuation, any guess what is the valuation of these startups? 1 lakh startup who are operating, few are very new and few have already established. So valuation has gone $500 billion, around $500 billion. If you compare with our $3 trillion economy, it plays very important role, very vital role in terms of the valuation. And in the years to come, India's startup ecosystem may soon reach $1 trillion mark, and which can only be achieved through our role, the chartered accountant role, as a foundation for startup-led economy. The number of unicorns increased in last few years. 2018, it was just 8, and now 100. So the growth is around 400% per annum. If you just see that same growth, you can see how India can become second largest and the largest creator of unicorns. And demonetization played very vital role in terms of creating digital transactions, and 72 billion transactions took place in just 1 year, that is year 2022. So under the Startup India initiative, Government of India has also announced many schemes for building or nurturing the startups. So I'll be raising few questions related to government schemes where chartered accountant can play a role in terms of spreading the news of the use of government schemes, and how we can support government also in terms of creating better schemes so that we can take benefit of this. those schemes. So my question to all the panelists uh, will be targeted towards opportunities for chartered accountants in terms of founder. So how, as a founder, we can create our own venture and we can support own startups. And as a CA institute or CA chartered accountant who are deploying interns or CA students, to encourage them for starting their own venture. So that is the two area where as a founder we can play the role, and as a founder builder, that means creating the foundation for economy. There are three parts that I'll be covering: the financial role, and the regulation and compliances, and mentoring and encouraging. So within financial role, I'll be covering the angel investing by chartered accountants through their own investment or through their clients. Of course, this topic is widely covered in these 2 days of seminar. One special session is also there at 5:30. My fellow chartered accountant Gaurav Singhvi will be taking that session. Then realistic projection and the budgeting aspect, we'll be talking about few questions related to that. Business valuation, addressing the gaps in financial statement, and risk management role. And regulation and compliances, I'll be covering few topics related to low cost regulatory schemes or the compliances which we can do as a chartered accountant. Government schemes awareness, role in policy framework by the government, and due diligence process. Few of the questions you must be having, because either you are chartered accountant doing due diligence process or many other supporting services, or few of the examples you must have seen where the transitions couldn't do well because of the due diligence failed, and that is where this kind of inputs will be very vital for value addition. And for mentoring and encouragement, I'll be covering CA. We can become mentors for startups, and role in identifying right idea and implementing those idea into business. And incubation center, how can we contribute for development of incubation center and taking benefit to right candidates. So a brief introduction so that those panelists who are sitting here, we can know what depth of knowledge they are carrying, so that we can be prepared about their inputs. And if you have also got a few questions, you can also raise. I'll be announcing the time for that. So first, I would like to introduce CA Sunil Garg. CA Sunil Garg sitting their side. So there are two Sunil Garg. So I'll be calling gentleman Sunil Garg, CA Sunil Garg, as Sunil ji. And here right side, I'll be calling him as Garg Saab. So CA Sunil Garg is a senior chartered accountant since May 1992. He brings 30 plus years of experience in taxation, auditing, advisory services, risk management, cross-border transactions, international taxation, and managerial services. He is a respected speaker and written many taxation-related books. He has appeared on national law channels, national news channels rather, G News, G Business, Rajya Sabha TV, NewsX, CNBC Awaz, News 18, Z News, and he has conducted over 500 webinars, 500 seminars and tax shows. And his articles on taxation and economic issues are published in national and online magazines. He has also presented papers on complex taxation matters like succession planning, taxation of private and charitable trust, and taxation of joint development agreements and capital gain transactions. So vast knowledge he is carrying, and we should all get benefit in terms of using his experience of nurturing startup, and how can we use that experience for our growth, our opportunities. So welcome Sunil ji for this panel discussion. I would like to introduce my next fellow panelist, Mr. Mukesh Mohan Gupta, sitting next to Garg Saab. So Mukesh Mohan Gupta is another fellow senior chartered accountant with 30 years of experience in MSMEs, finance, banking, economy, and startups. He served as an independent director on the board of Dena Bank, Hindustan Fertilizer Corporation, and Madras Fertilizer Corporation. Mr. Gupta is also president of Chamber of Indian Micro, Small, and Medium Enterprises, and he runs Swavlamban facility and incubation centers. he was invited by Honorable Prime Minister very recently for economic discussion and has a popular YouTube channel and website for MSMEs. The Prime Minister, when he called, there were only about eight of them, and he was one of them where he discussed about the economic contribution with respect to the startups. So welcome, Mr. Gupta, sir. Yeah. Now I would like to introduce Mr. rather CA Deepak Dhanak. Deepak Dhanak is a chartered accountant turned entrepreneur with 25 years of experience in his own practice, consulting, industry, and startups. He has global experience and has been responsible for more than 30 countries in his industry stints. He has helped building the software-led two unicorns, starting from India's first in browser stack and second is CleverTap. Mr. Deepak is now in his own startup called DokuX, and that competes with big technology players like Microsoft, Google, and DocuSign. So, welcome, Deepak ji. And I would like to introduce my fourth panelist, Mr. Garg Saab, Sunil ji. Mr. Sunil Garg is a distinguished partner in Verma Garg and Associate, having 26 years of experience in areas of direct and indirect taxation, tax and audits. He has assisted CA Institute in preparing first draft of ICAI publication on checklist on audit standards. Recently started his own startup and in cloud computing with two partners, one from USA and the other one from UK. So welcome, Garg Saab. So I'll be starting my conversation now. Can I get the mic? So we have sufficient time, I suppose. And so first, the topic which I would like to cover is the gaps in financial ecosystem. We have seen many startups struggle in terms of creating a robust balance sheet, robust financial statement so that they become fundable. We have been focusing mainly on bankability of the unit in terms of SMEs and the corporates, but we have never given any importance on fundability in terms of equity investment. So I would like to ask the panelists, what are the areas or what are the financial ecosystem or the gaps which you see in the startup where the chartered accountant can play a role in terms of identifying those gaps right at the initial stage and so that their due diligence process and all those later processes we can do very smoothly. So question two, maybe Sunil ji, first starting with you. So if you get up in the morning, being a chartered accountant, having journey of 30 years of experience, if you get up in the morning and decide that these are the financial ecosystem gap where the startups must function to identify the gap and evolve around certain business model so that other startups can learn from them, what will be those two or three gaps which you would like to suggest where we as a chartered accountants can identify and guide our startups where we have been working with?
So thank you, Neilji. Dear friends and young chartered accountants, especially sitting here. So you rightly pointed out that we see the bankable projects and bankable balance sheets, but how the value is to be created in the balance sheet, it all depends on the structure, what you are projecting in the future. We always project a balance sheet or we prepare a balance sheet as on date. Rather, I will suggest the balance sheet should be a future balance sheet where I am and where I want to go. And it all depends on what is going to be your debt and equity equivalence between the things. Of course, you start with the debt, your own capital, and then ultimately to create a valuation, you have to go for the balance sheet which has the valuation for the future. And that's why the most important point, the most important thing is the valuation is the discounted cash flow method. How you create valuation, and we as a chartered accountant, we understand that how the valuation can be created. What is, matlab, it all depends ki you how you present yourself to the investors. That is give you that is going to give the valuation. Anything you want to add, sir?
Yeah, Deepak ji, if you would like, or Mukesh sir, if you would like to enter.
So there could be two approaches, okay, to this, and a lot depends upon where you are raising capital from. Correct. If you are raising a capital from a traditional sources like going to the government schemes, the banks, you're raising debt, not equity. Balance sheet, as Sunil ji said, plays a major role. And there you have to actually provide not only the as-on state, because as-on state, you virtually or probably have nothing. Because in early stage, your balance sheet is almost as clean as, your product, correct? The complication starts later. So at that point in time, it is important to give a glimpse into the future to understand that if our projections, if our product works out well, this is where we will lend and the corresponding valuation. Because ultimately, the investor invests for the value in the future, not for the value in the present. So that could be very, very interesting and a great way to look at it. The other is if you are raising a capital from the venture capitalists, okay, or maybe even angel investors, their probably balance sheet, in my view, plays a very less role because they invest in the idea at an initial stage. They invest in the person, correct? So there, the personal balance sheet should be better, not in financial terms, but in terms of experience, ability to tell a story, ability to tell what your product is all about and how it's going to change the field that you are getting in. So the personal balance sheet and a product balance sheet, I coin it, is more important if you are pitching to that particular class of investors. At a later stage, in a growth stage or in a scaled up stage, when you go, a real traditional balance sheet that we have been signing, as a chartered accountant all our careers, that becomes very important. And there, of course, the benchmarking, the standards, the ratios and other stuff come to play, coupled with the business point of view, because by that time you have built at least a dependable business. So that is how you should look at it, where you are raising from, what your stage is, and what is it that they invest in, whether they invest in your financial strength, whether they invest in your numbers, they invest in the person, whether they invest in the product.
Very valid point. Mukesh ji, if you would like to add any.
हाँ, तो अनिल जी देखिए, मैं तो ये कहना चाहूँगा क्योंकि जो टॉपिक है आज का, दैट इज अपॉर्चुनिटीज फॉर चार्टर्ड अकाउंटेंट्स टू सपोर्ट स्टार्टअप, और मैं समझता हूँ यहाँ ऑल पार्टिसिपेंट्स आर द चार्टर्ड अकाउंटेंट एंड आई हैप्पी टू सी देयर आर such young startup sitting over here, in fact, and different mixes. So thank you very much, sir. So ये startup है ना, इसमें सबका बहुत इंटरेस्ट है, और कुछ स्टार्टअप ऐसे हैं जिनको बहुत फंडिंग मिल गई, तो हमने सबने शायद ये समझ लिया कि यार स्टार्टअप हम कोई शुरू करेंगे तो बहुत पैसा मिल जाएगा हमें. Perhaps ये परसेप्शन शायद पहले तो निकालना पड़ेगा अपने दिमाग से, बिकॉज वी ऑल नो दैट आउट ऑफ 100 स्टार्टअप 98-99 विल फेल. सो अगर मैं इसको इस हिसाब से देखूं कि व्हाट आर द अपॉर्चुनिटीज फॉर द चार्टर्ड अकाउंटेंट्स, एंड आई हैव सीन इन मेनी टाइम्स लोग कहते हैं कि यार अभी ना बैलेंस शीट साइन नहीं करना, ऑडिट नहीं करना, ये फंडिंग इज द बेस्ट वे. तो मैं भैया आपको आगाह करना चाहता हूं कि जो assisting your clients or the startup in getting them funding from the banks or financial institution is tougher, और वो ज़्यादा रिस्की है शायद एज कम्पेयर टू साइनिंग ए बैलेंस शीट, क्योंकि वहाँ पर आप बिना साइन किए बहुत बड़ी रेस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी ले रहे हैं. बिकॉज यू सी, अगर आप कोई, और मेरा ये मानना है कि हम इंक्यूबेशन सेंटर भी चलाते हैं, हम स्वावलंबन फैसिलिटी सेंटर भी चलाते हैं. आई हैव सीन कि आज जो एस्पिरेशन है ना उस क्लाइंट्स की शायद बहुत ज़्यादा है. रिसेंटली आई वॉज डूइंग एन इवेंट, तो एक साहब मेरे पीछे पड़ गए, बोले सर मुझे ना 5,000 करोड़ चाहिए, 5,000 करोड़, और वो थैला ले रखा था लिटरली उन्होंने. तो मैंने बोला यार आपको 5,000 करोड़ क्यों चाहिए? तो उन्होंने बताने लगे अपना ये मैं करूँगा टेलीकॉम का प्रोजेक्ट करूँगा, ये करूँगा. मैंने बोला अच्छा आपके पास कितना पैसा है, अपना कितना? बोले सर मेरे पास तो कुछ नहीं है अभी. तो मैंने बोला सर आप एक काम करो, आपने बहुत छोटा प्रोजेक्ट चुना है, जब सारा सरकार से लेना है तो यार 5,000 करोड़ जैसा छोटा प्रोजेक्ट क्यों लगा रहे, 20-25,000 करोड़ का तो लगाओ. सो फ्रेंड्स, ऐसे कई बार क्या होता है, ये तो चलो बड़ा हो गया. एक बार क्या हुआ, एक बार हम कर रहे थे तो लोगों ने कहा बैंक लोन नहीं देता जी हमको, स्टार्टअप है हमको कोई लोन नहीं देता. हमने बुलाया एक को पार्टिसिपेंट्स को, उनमें से बोले आ जाओ भैया. हमने बोला बताओ कितना पैसा चाहिए. कहता जी 2 करोड़ दे दो, बिकॉज 2 करोड़ इज दैट टाइम वाज कोलेटरल फ्री लोन। तो 2 करोड़ की फिगर सबको याद रहती है, भाई कोलेटरल फ्री मिलेगा। हमने बोला अच्छा आओ बताओ क्या प्रोजेक्ट लगाओगे साहब, रेडीमेड गारमेंट का। हमने कहा क्या क्या लगाओगे उसमें, सिलाई मशीन लगाएंगे, कितने की एक आती है, कितनी लगाओगे। जस्ट बिलीव मी ही वाज नॉट एबल टू जस्टिफाई कि भैया वो 10 लाख रुपए तक पहुंच नहीं पाया। हमने बोला 5,000 की एक मशीन है। सो फ्रेंड्स, मेरा आपको जो चार्टर्ड अकाउंटेंट है उनको सजेशन ये है, मेरे लिए जो स्टार्टअप है ना, मेरे लिए स्टार्टअप है वो जो मुद्रा लोन ले रहा है, बिकॉज बर्निंग ऑफ मनी फ्रेंकली आई आल्सो नॉट एबल टू अंडरस्टैंड। सो मेरे लिए स्टार्टअप वो है, यू कैन इन्वेस्ट इन द स्टार्टअप्स। और वही आज ही मैं बात कर रहा था एक बैंक के किसी एमडी से, दे टोल्ड मी कि सर हमने एक को 50 लाख रुपए दिया था, बड़ी मुश्किल से दिया था, आज उसने 100 करोड़ रुपए रेस करने की बात उसकी चल रही है। दैट इज द पोटेंशियल। तो आप मुद्रा लोन दिलवाइए, दैट इज ए स्टार्टअप, नए लोगों को मिलता है। आप पीएमईजीपी में बिल्कुल नए लोगों को मिलता है, उनको असिस्ट करिएगा। आप स्टैंड अप इंडिया वुमेन एंटरप्रेन्योर हैं, उनको मिलता है 1 करोड़ रुपए तक का लोन, आप उनको दिलवाइए। देयर आर स्कीम्स जहां पर 10 करोड़ तक भी सरकार कह रही है कि भैया हम कोलेटरल सिक्योरिटी फ्री लोन देंगे, लेकिन अभी वो शायद समय आने में थोड़ा समय लगेगा, मुश्किल है। तो आई विल एडवाइज कि जो हम चार्टर्ड अकाउंटेंट्स हैं, अपॉर्चुनिटीज तो हैं, बट सबसे पहले शायद हमें ये देखना पड़ेगा, एक ड्यू डिलिजेंस करनी पड़ेगी बहुत ही अच्छी तरह से स्टार्टअप्स की, कि उनके पास पोटेंशियल कितना है, उनके पास अपना मार्जिन कितना है, उनका आइडिया कैसा है, क्या उनके पास कोई ऐसा सॉल्यूशन है, एक जो प्रॉब्लम है उसको वो सॉल्व कर रहे हैं। एंड आई वुड आल्सो लाइक टू आस्क वन क्वेश्चन फ्रॉम यू, आप में से किसी लोगों ने अपना स्टार्टअप का रजिस्ट्रेशन कराया है? यू शुड गेट योर firm to be registered with DPIIT as a startup, because why I am saying this thing, एक तो अगर आपने उसको LLP में या कुछ ऐसा कुछ कर लिया, because you will be aware कि स्टार्टअप रजिस्ट्रेशन जो है अनरजिस्टर्ड पार्टनरशिप फर्म को नहीं होता, तो इट इज ओनली फॉर द प्राइवेट लिमिटेड कंपनी, LLP एंड रजिस्टर्ड पार्टनरशिप फर्म। तो आप अगर इन 3 में कोई काम कर रहे हैं, मे बी आपकी कोई मैनेजमेंट कंसल्टेंसी है, बिकॉज स्टार्टअप इज 10 साल पुराना तक हो सकता है। स्टार्टअप का मतलब ये नहीं कि आज ही आपने शुरू किया हो गया। स्टार्टअप का ये भी मतलब नहीं है कि वो कोई टेक बेस्ड कंपनी होनी चाहिए। आप कोई रेस्टोरेंट चेन खोलना चाहते हैं, आप कोई और काम करना चाहते हैं, कोई मैन्युफैक्चरिंग है, सो एक तो स्केलेबिलिटी की, एंड देयर शुड बी सम इनोवेशन इन 3 चीज बोलूंगा मैं, इनोवेशन इन प्रोडक्ट, प्रोसेस एंड सर्विस। तो वी आर द सर्विस प्रोवाइडर। तो हम भी हो सकता है कोई डिजिटली हम कोई सर्विस प्रोवाइडर कर रहे हो, हम कोई ऐसा काम कर रहे हो जो अभी तक चल तो रही थी, वो सर्विस बहुत हो रही थी, मे बी GST रजिस्ट्रेशन है, या स्टार्टअप का रजिस्ट्रेशन है, या कोई और तरीका है, या जैसे मैं देख रहा था कि कोई जितनी स्कीम्स हैं गवर्नमेंट की, वो कैसे हम ये देख सकते हैं कि यार हमने उसका डाला डिटेल और पता कर लिया कि भाई कौन कौन सी स्कीम्स आर अवेलेबल। सो माई सजेशन टू द माई फेलो चार्टर अकाउंटेंट विल बी, एंड इट्स ए वे ऑफ लर्निंग, मैं आपसे कुछ सीखना चाहूँगा। एक तो अपना MSME का रजिस्ट्रेशन कराइए जरूर, अगर नहीं है किसी के पास आज ही। और दूसरा, मैं समझता हूँ कि ये जो एक छोटा एक हॉल है, इसमें कुछ चार्ट अकाउंटेंट ऐसे जरूर होने चाहिए, दोज हु शुड गेट देयर स्टार्टअप रजिस्ट्रेशन। इट इज ऑनलाइन, फ्री ऑफ कॉस्ट, और बस एक दिन भी नहीं लगेगा आपको टू फाइल योर एप्लीकेशन, एंड मोस्ट प्रोबेबली यू विल गेट द स्टार्टअप रजिस्ट्रेशन। तो मेरा सजेशन यही है चार्टर्ड अकाउंटेंट्स को कि जो भी क्लाइंट है उनको पहले ठीक तरह से हमें असेस करना चाहिए बिफोर टेकिंग देम टू एनी लेंडर और टू द इन्वेस्टर्स।
Thank you, Mukesh ji sir, for setting the tone now for my next round of questions. You wanted to convey something, Sunil ji? You want to convey something?
नहीं, बहुत अच्छा कहा मुकेश जी ने। और मैं कह रहा हूँ जो चार्टर्ड अकाउंटेंट्स हैं, गवर्नमेंट्स ने इतनी अच्छी स्कीम्स ना केवल फाइनेंस में दी हैं, हम खाली फाइनेंस की बात करते हैं, एक इकोसिस्टम को टैक्सेशन में पूरा रिजीम दिया है, और चार्टर्ड अकाउंट्स के लिए बड़ी अपॉर्चुनिटी है कि कैसे आप कैश फ्लो को मैनेज कर सकते हैं। फॉर एग्जांपल, आपको अगर टैक्स हॉलिडे मिलता है 3 साल के लिए ATIAC में, आप देखिए कि आप वो 3 साल चुनना, कौन से 3 साल चुनना है, दैट्स वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट। कि सरकार ने पहली बार कहा है किसी स्कीम में कि यू कैन चूज 3 ईयर्स आउट ऑफ द 10 ईयर्स, यू कैन चूज 0, 1, 2, 3, यू कैन चूज 5, 4, 5, 6, यू कैन चूज 7, 8, 10, 8, 9, 10। तो 3 साल कौन से होंगे, और फिर आपको इक्विलिब्रियम बैलेंस मेंटेन करना है कि मैं 100 करोड़, क्योंकि जो स्टार्टअप की डेफिनेशन सर ने बताई है, बड़ी वाइड डेफिनेशन दी है। अब सरकार ने कहा है IDI, इनोवेशन, डेवलपमेंट, इंप्रूवमेंट ऑफ एनी प्रोडक्ट, प्रोसेस और सर्विस, और टू क्रिएट अ वेल्थ और स्केलेबल बिजनेस मॉडल। तो इतनी बड़ी डेफिनेशन देने का मतलब, और उसके लिए शायद मुकेश जी ने जितनी लड़ाई की है, मैं जानता हूँ पीछे से, इस डेफिनेशन को वाइड करने के लिए। क्योंकि पहले क्या था, स्टार्टअप का मतलब था कोई टेक्नोलॉजी से रिलेटेड है, कोई IT से रिलेटेड है। अब तो अगर आप दिए बना रहे ना, कुम्हार दिए बनाता है, वो भी एक स्टार्टअप है। अगर आप कहते हो साहब मेरा दिया फेंकने से टूटेगा नहीं, मैंने इसमें केमिकल मिला दिया है, इट्स इम्प्रूवमेंट. तो सर ने कहा आप चार्टर्ड अकाउंटेंट है, आप ऐसी को सर्विस प्रोवाइड कर रहे हैं, इट्स एन इम्प्रूवमेंट, इट्स एन इनोवेशन, इट्स डेवलपमेंट. और डेवलपमेंट किसी भी चीज़ की हो सकती है. और सरकार ने पूरा इकोसिस्टम दिया है सर टैक्सेशन के ऊपर भी. आपको ईसोप कैसे इशू करने हैं, ईसोप के लिए डेफर्ड टैक्सेशन का सिस्टम आ गया. तो चार्टर्ड अकाउंट की कितनी बड़ी अपॉर्चुनिटी है. आपको कैरी फॉरवर्ड लॉस में 79 में स्पेशल एग्जम्पशन दे दिया आपको 80 आईएससी दे दिया. और एंजल टैक्स की लड़ाई तो अभी भी लड़ रहे हैं हम लोग. और फिर दोबारा नोटिफिकेशन आ गया फाइनेंस एक्ट 23 का. तो जैसे सेशन चलेगा, हम अपने चार्टर्ड अकाउंट्स के लिए बड़ी अपॉर्चुनिटी है. आपने पैसा तो अरेंज कर दिया अनिल जी, लेकिन उसको प्लान कैसे करना है, आउटफ्लो कैसे मेंटेन करना है. क्योंकि आपके सारे जो आपने गैप इन फाइनेंशियल स्टेटमेंट्स की बात की है, चूंकि इन्वेस्टर को या बैंक को भी देखना है कि आप सर्व कैसे करेंगे उसको. आप बैंक से लोन ले रहे हैं, आपका कैश आउटफ्लो इतना ज़्यादा है, आप सर्विस, क्योंकि वो पहले सर्विस मांगता है. इट इज़ द चार्टर्ड अकाउंटेंट who understands balance sheet, who understands figures, who understands finance, who understands cash flow. So we can be a mentor, we can be a complementary to them. So this is my take, sir.
So, just to summarize what we have discussed is there are 3-4 roles that we as a chartered accountant can play. One is spreading the government schemes and encourage them to get those schemes. Then due diligence of the business model, because as he pointed out, there are many founders who come with the idea, but the business model is not good enough to seek those 2 crore rupees funding or any other funding. And then encourage for seeking government schemes, especially the registration of startups. Any other point that you would like to add, Gaksab, on this point?
सर मैं एक बात कहना चाह रहा हूँ, बिकॉज ऑफ द नेचर एंड कल्चर ऑफ स्टार्टअप देर आर मोर अपॉर्चुनिटीज एज कम्पेयर टू कन्वेंशनल बिजनेस. एक्चुअली जो स्टार्टअप है, ही कम विद ए न्यू आइडिया which was not earlier proved or established idea. And generally startup entrepreneurs come from a non-business family. So it means he have idea, but he don't know how to execute that idea into a business model. In that situation, CA come in picture, and he can play a big role to help the startup, to foundation building of the startup.
Very correct. Yeah, very good. So, because the business model that we discussed, and Mukesh pointed out that business model should be validated well in advance before they get into the startup registration process or seek funding from the startup. And generally, we as chartered accountant or any other founder, when they create any business model, they immediately think that valuation will be like this, and so much of the funds will be available for my startup because I carry a lot of experience or the academic background. So coming to my second set of questions in terms of investment into startups. So there are many factors that we consider for investment into startups, because most of the startups are not eligible for bank funding. And that is where the private funding play a very important role. And there are stages available. We have been supporting many startups where the steps they have to follow in terms of getting into the VC funding. And a few of the startups have gone into the VC funding stage also, and they don't entertain because either their size is not fit for them or they are too early in terms of raising fund. So we as chartered accountant, what role we can play in terms of identifying right opportunity? And you recently pointed out there are many parameters which we look at in terms of taking investment decision. Right from the founder's background, and then the business model itself, the scalability, and many other aspects. So, because the topic is vast, so I would stick to the founder's profile first. So, if we talk about founder's profile, what are the key areas that we as chartered accountant should look at so that we can ask our investors? Of course, either we invest, or we as a chartered accountant ask our investors or our fellow entrepreneurs to invest in those startups as early seed ventures or early seed capital. So as a founder, what areas that we look at, we should look at in terms of making them eligible as a right candidate for investment, starting from Mukesh Monsi.
तो देखिए, ये मैं फिर वही कहूँगा कि जो हम चार्टर्ड अकाउंटेंट है ना, हमें ड्यू, चाहे वो डेट के लिए करें, पैसा पैसा है भैया. सबका पैसा एक ही जगह से आता है, वेदर इट्स ए डेट और एन इक्विटी। तो एंड जो चार्टर्ड अकाउंटेंट्स का एक रोल है ताकि वो जो कॉन्फिडेंस है वो बना रहे, चाहे वो इन्वेस्टर हो या बैंकर्स हो या कोई और लेंडर हो, उनको ये होना चाहिए कि अच्छा अगर इन्होंने, ही इज ए चार्टर्ड अकाउंटेंट, इफ ही हैज रेफर्ड एनी स्टार्टअप, तो अगर हम इसमें इन्वेस्ट करेंगे तो भाई अच्छा रहेगा, हमारे लिए भी रहेगा अच्छा और उसके लिए भी रहेगा। तो एक तो बात ये है कि past track record is very important, for which perhaps I will suggest that we have lot of data available as on today. अभी बहुत सारी चीज़ों के लिए बैलेंस शीट की जरूरत भी नहीं रह गई है। क्या है हमारा, अगर हम एक एग्जिस्टिंग कंपनी है, वी कैन गेट द डिटेल्स फ्रॉम द GSTN। क्रेडिट ब्यूरो है, जरूर आप मेरी सलाह रहेगी कि भाई आप उनका जो सिबिल या किसी भी क्रेडिट ब्यूरो से आप निकालें, उनका रैंक निकालिए कंपनी का। जो प्रमोटर्स हैं उनका सिबिल के स्कोर देखिए कि कहीं ऐसा तो नहीं पास में कोई लोन लिया हो, उसमें डिफ़ॉल्ट कर दिया हो। हाँ, तो मुझे लगता है कि उस तरह के जो फाउंडर्स हैं या प्रमोटर्स हैं, उनको शायद कोई भी इन्वेस्टर जो है वो फंडिंग करने से घबराएगा। जो बिल्कुल अर्ली स्टेज के हैं, जिनके पास अभी आइडिया है केवल, और वो जो आइडिया जो है वो भी अभी प्रूव नहीं हुआ है, प्रोटोटाइप डेवलपमेंट नहीं किया है, उनके लिए मैं एक स्कीम बताना चाहूँगा जो शायद आज के टॉपिक से बहुत रिलेटेड है कि अपॉर्चुनिटीज फॉर द चार्टर्ड अकाउंटेंट। तो देयर इज ए स्कीम कॉल्ड सीड फंड, स्टार्टअप इंडिया सीड फंड। तो ये जो स्टार्टअप इंडिया सीड फंड स्कीम जो है, नहीं 10 करोड़ नहीं है सर, वो उसमें क्या है, तो अच्छा है सर, मुझे मतलब लगा कि चलिए ये बताना, शायद आप जैसे जिनसे मैं हमेशा सीखता रहता हूँ, अगर तो हमें भी नहीं पता होता, बहुत सारी चीज़ें ऐसी हैं। जैसे आप कह रहे थे, तो मैंने एक 2-3 साल पहले एक सोचा कि कोई स्कीम है, नहीं पता तो चलो एक यूट्यूब पे डाल देते हैं, जबकि मेरी फैमिली काफ़ी नाराज़ रहती है उसमें क्या हो रहा है। सो बट MSME हेल्पलाइन के नाम से हमने एक चैनल शुरू किया, उसमें आज 4 करोड़ से ज़्यादा व्यूअर्स हैं। तो उसमें हम कोशिश यही करते हैं कि जो भी स्कीम है, जो भी कोई नोटिफिकेशन है किसी भी स्टेक होल्डर्स का फॉर स्टार्टअप एंड MSME, वो उस पर आपको आई कैन गारंटी वो जरूर मिलेगा। तो ये जो मैं आपको बता रहा हूँ स्टार्टअप इंडिया सीड फंड स्कीम, तो अगर अभी बिल्कुल किसी ने कंपनी बनाई है और उनके पास बस एक आइडिया है, कुछ भी नहीं है, कोई प्रोडक्ट नहीं है, कोई प्रोसेसिंग उन्होंने अभी कोई जस्टिफाई नहीं की, कोई सर्विस अभी वो नहीं दे रहे, जीरो बैलेंस शीट है उनकी, तो सबसे पहले तो उनका आप एक DPIIT में स्टार्टअप का रजिस्ट्रेशन करवा लीजिए। सो दैट इज द फर्स्ट थिंग। उसके बाद एक सीड फंड स्कीम है जहां पर 20 लाख रुपए तक की ग्रांट दे रही है सरकार फॉर दीज थिंग, फॉर आपका आइडिया सपोर्ट करने के लिए, आपका प्रोटोटाइप डेवलप करने के लिए 20 लाख रुपए तक का ग्रांट वापस ही नहीं करना, और साथ में 50 लाख रुपए तक का डेट एट ए वेरी वेरी नॉमिनल रेट दे रही है। तो उसमें आप डायरेक्ट ऑनलाइन अप्लाई कर सकते हैं ये अपने लिए या अपने क्लाइंट के लिए, एंड यू कैन गेट इट थ्रू सम ऑफ द इंक्यूबेटर्स। उसमें यू हैव टू सेलेक्ट 3 इंक्यूबेटर्स, और उनमें से कोई तीनों में से कोई भी इंक्यूबेटर आपको आपका जो प्रोडक्ट है, प्रोसेस है, सर्विस है, उसको सेलेक्ट कर सकता है, और फिर ये 70 लाख रुपीज़ तक का आप अपने क्लाइंट्स को ये फंडिंग दिला सकते हैं। मैं समझता हूँ कि एक बार अगर ये गवर्नमेंट की तरफ से फंडिंग मिल जाती है, बिकॉज मोस्ट ऑफ द स्कीम्स जो और भी आगे चल के हैं उसमें यही है कि आपको, अच्छा किसी ने आपको सपोर्ट किया है भैया, तो अगर हम ये कहें कि हाँ साहब सरकार ने सपोर्ट कर रखा है हमें, तो है ना, DPIIT के थ्रू देखो सरकार ने हमें, चाहे वो 70 लाख रुपीज है, इट मे बी ए वेरी लेस अमाउंट, बट आई सपोज द कॉन्फिडेंस एनी अदर इन्वेस्टर और द लेंडर और एनी HNI विल हैव ऑन यू विल बी ट्रेमेंडस। तो मैं समझता हूँ कि जो अर्ली स्टेज स्टार्टअप है उनके लिए आप ये स्टार्टअप इंडिया सीड फंड स्कीम, स्टार्टअप के लिए डेट तो बहुत है, जैसे सरकार ने एक अनाउंस की क्रेडिट गारंटी स्कीम फॉर स्टार्टअप, जहाँ पर जिसकी आप बात कर रहे थे, इट वाज रिसेंटली अनाउंस, CGSS इसको बोलते हैं, 10 करोड़ रुपए तक का फंड यहाँ पर दे रहे हैं बिना किसी कोलेटरल सिक्योरिटी के। तो जैसे जैसे बिजनेस बढ़ता है उसके हिसाब से आप और जो भी रिक्वायरमेंट है उसके हिसाब से यू हैव टू एसेस द रिक्वायरमेंट एंड यू कैन अप्रोच द कंसर्न अथॉरिटी फॉर गेटिंग द फाइनेंस ईदर इन फॉर्म ऑफ वेंचर कैपिटल, वेंचर डेट फंड और द नॉर्मल डेट।
सुनील जी, यू वांट टू से समथिंग ऑन दिस?
हाँ सर, मैं इसी को कंटिन्यू करता हूँ कि क्या रोल चार्टर्ड अकाउंटेंट्स इंपॉर्टेंट प्ले कर सकते हैं इन द वैल्यूएशन इटसेल्फ। देखिए ज़्यादातर क्या करते हैं, एक स्टार्टअप का एक हमने बहुत बड़ा एक क्रिएट कर दिया कि पता नहीं एक कागज़ पे DCF से वैल्यूएशन बनाओ और लोग उस पर भरोसा कर लेंगे और आपको बहुत पैसा दे जाएंगे, एक ऐसा, और इस वजह से क्या था 100 में से 90 फेल हो जाते हैं। बट एज ए चार्टर्ड अकाउंटेंट वी अंडरस्टैंड फिगर्स, वी अंडरस्टैंड रीजनेबलनेस की है क्या। आपने DCF मेथड से बना दिया, अब आप मानिए कि आप हॉस्पिटल है, उसमें हॉस्पिटल में अगर बेड 50 है तो मैं उसकी ऑक्यूपेंसी कितनी ले रहा हूँ, अगर मैं उसकी ऑक्यूपेंसी 200% ले रहा हूँ तो डाटा ठीक नहीं है। आप DCF का मतलब ये नहीं कि आप कुछ भी वैल्यूएशन कर लें कुछ भी प्रोजेक्शंस कर लें। जैसे सर ने बताया, एक सज्जन आए कि साहब मेरी एंटरप्राइज वैल्यू 5,000 करोड़ रुपए है। मैंने कहा जी कैसे है? नहीं सर बड़ा सिंपल है, इस साल तो हम करेंगे 5 करोड़, फिर कहेंगे 25 करोड़, फिर कहेंगे 250 करोड़, फिर 500 करोड़। मैंने कहा कमाल कर दिया आपने तो। आपने इन्वेस्टमेंट कितनी किया? बोले नहीं वो तो अभी हमने शुरू करना है, वो तो हमको अभी शुरू करना। लेकिन जो मैं कहना चाह रहा हूँ, व्हाट आई एम एम्फेसाइजिंग, वी अंडरस्टैंड फिगर्स। अगर आप उसकी मेंटरिंग कर रहे हैं, आप उसको एक प्रोफेशनल कैपेसिटी में आप रोल में कर रहे हैं, तो अगर आप डीसीएफ मेथड से वैल्यूएशन कर रहे हैं सर, तो आपको ये देखना है कि इट शुड बी अ रियलिस्टिक फिगर। आपको रियलिस्टिक फिगर्स को कैसे निकालना है, आपको डाटा निकालना है, आपको सीएजीआर क्या है मार्केट में, स्केलेबल बिजनेस मॉडल कितना है, क्या साइज हो सकता है, और फिर जो आपका विजुअलाइजेशन है, जो चार्ट अकाउंट, यू अंडरस्टैंड ना कि मैं कहाँ तक विजुअलाइज करूंगा, मैं कितना कैपेसिटाइजेशन करूंगा। अब इससे रिलेटेड एस्पेक्ट आता है फिर एंजल टैक्स के ऊपर। आपने तो वैल्यूएशन कर ली, आपने शेयर 500 रुपए का देना है या 5,000 का देना है, आपने दे दिया, लेकिन आपको 56 to 7B की तलवार भी लटकी हुई है। वहां फिर आपका रोल है, बहुत बड़ा इंपॉर्टेंट रोल है आपका, क्योंकि आपको पता है कि 56 to 7B है। जैसे ही आप फेयर मार्केट वैल्यू ज़्यादा आप शेयर्स इशू करते हैं, तो वो जाकर आपको पूरा टैक्स देना है कंपनी ने, और टैक्स भी है 30%। उससे कैसे बचना है, जो सर ने बताया अभी, जैसे ही आप DPIIT में रजिस्टर्ड करते हैं अपने आप को, दैट्स ए वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट एरिया। सरकार ने नोटिफिकेशन दिया, और 5 नोटिफिकेशन दिए गोयल साहब। हमने इतनी लड़ी वहां पर कि आप क्या कर रहे हैं कि स्टार्टअप को तो एग्जाम कर दीजिए, कर दिया, लेकिन कंडीशन लगा दी कि 25 करोड़ रुपए तक की कैपिटल और विद प्रीमियम आप लाते हो तो हम आपको एग्जाम करेंगे 56 to 7B से, अदरवाइज नहीं करेंगे। उसके बाद इस फाइनेंस एक्ट 23 में फिर सरकार ने क्या कहा है कि ये सारे रेगुलेशंस आपके लिए बहुत बड़ी प्रैक्टिस का एरिया है। हर स्टार्टअप को आपकी जरूरत है, चार्टर्ड अकाउंटेंट्स के बिना काम ही नहीं कर सकता इसको, क्योंकि जितने भी हम चार्टर्ड अकाउंटेंट्स हैं, वी आर नोन फॉर आइदर ऑडिटिंग और फॉर टैक्स प्लानिंग। तो ये दोनों एरिया जितने बड़े हैं, इस फाइनेंस एक्ट 23 में फिर आ गया कि अब रेजिडेंट और नॉन रेजिडेंट, मतलब पहले था कि दैट सेक्शन इज नॉट एप्लीकेबल टू नॉन रेजिडेंट्स। नाउ दिस नॉन रेजिडेंट हैज बीन रिमूव्ड, नाउ इट इज एप्लीकेबल टू एवरीबडी। आपको अगर नॉन रेजिडेंट से पैसा आ रहा है, एफडीआई से पैसा आ रहा है, अगेन इट इज गोइंग टू बी टैक्स्ड। उसके लिए सरकार ने फिर कहा है अब आपसे, अभी पब्लिक डोमेन में आ गया है वैल्यूएशन रूल्स। पहले 2 वैल्यूएशन रूल थे, एनपीपी मेथड से वैल्यूएशन या डीसीएफ मेथड से वैल्यूएशन, हम सब करते आए हैं 11 यूए में। सरकार ने नोटिफाई किया है ना, देयर विल बी 5 मेथड्स। आप 5 मेथड से वैल्यूएशन कर सकते हैं 11 यूए के लिए, फॉर टू अवॉइड दैट टैक्स अंडर सेक्शन 56 to 7B। और उसमें भी 2 कैटेगरी है गोयल साहब। एक कैटेगरी होगी जो स्टार्टअप जो नोटिफाइड है, लेकिन स्टार्टअप की लिमिटेशन है, 100 करोड़ तक आप हो जाते हैं या 10 साल के बाद में स्टार्टअप नहीं रहते हैं। सेकेंडली, एक और कंफ्यूजन होता है हमेशा, देखिए ATIEC के लिए तो आपको इंटर मिनिस्ट्रियल ग्रुप में जाना है, लेकिन एंजल टैक्स के लिए आपको इंटर मिनिस्ट्रियल ग्रुप में जाने की जरूरत नहीं है। यू मे नॉट बी एलिजिबल फॉर ATIEC, बट स्टिल इफ यू आर रजिस्टर्ड एज ए DPIIT, तो एंजल टैक्स से भी आपको छूट मिल सकती है। लेकिन उसके लिए मैं कहूँगा जो यंग चार्टर्ड अकाउंट्स बैठे हैं, आपको उस पूरे सर्कुलर्स को, नोटिफिकेशंस को, वैल्यूएशन मेथड को पढ़ना चाहिए। और फिर एक रोल और निकलता है वैल्यूअर का। आप एक अच्छी वैल्यूएशन सजेस्ट कीजिए जो बैंकेबल, डिपेंडेबल, रियलिस्टिक वैल्यूएशन है, तो दोनों का फायदा करे, नेशन का भी और स्टार्टअप का भी।
So many clues for chartered accountants from Sunilji's input in terms of what role as a chartered accountant we can play in terms of identifying the right founders for investment, and role as a true valuation for our investment, or make them realistic figures, and the business model. So founders, you would like to add anything? Yeah. So the topic was actually what we were asking is what are the characteristics that as a founder we should look at before we take the decision to invest?
सर इसमें ना एक मेन चीज़ हम देखेंगे, उसका आइडिया और वो तो ठीक है, लेकिन जो फाउंडर है ही शुड बी मैन ऑफ करेक्टर, मैन ऑफ इंटीग्रिटी, क्योंकि सबसे मेन चीज़ वो है। जैसे हम किसी भी अपने कनेक्ट को या अपने क्लाइंट को उसको इन्वेस्ट करने के लिए उसको रेफ़र करेंगे, तो सबसे पहले कि ये चीज़ भी, मतलब मेरे हिसाब से मेन क्वालिटी ये देखनी चाहिए फाउंडर की।
अनिल जी, मैं तो ये कहना चाहूँगा, देखिए मेरा ओपिनियन शायद हो सकता है थोड़ा डिफरेंट हो। देखिए प्रमोटर्स तो है ही, पर दोस्तों मैं एक बात जरूर कहूँगा, आप में से अधिकतर चार्टर्ड अकाउंटेंट्स क्या हैं जो ऑडिट इनकम टैक्स करते हैं, वो हैं क्या? एक बार थोड़ा मुझे बताइए जरा प्लीज। ऑडिटेड इनकम टैक्स, मेरा हमेशा मानना ये है, और पिछले 5-7 सालों में तो मैंने बहुत देखा है, प्रमोटर्स के अलावा दोस्तों चार्टर्ड अकाउंटेंट्स का बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट रोल है। हैंड होल्डिंग जो है ना, वो बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट है। क्यों हैंड होल्डिंग इंपॉर्टेंट है? ये जो स्टार्टअप है ना, या जो MSMEs है, जो छोटे बिजनेस कर रहे हैं, SMBs हैं, सभी स्टार्टअप और MSME में कोई फ़र्क बहुत ज़्यादा कुछ है नहीं, मतलब तो बड़ा थिन एक वो है, जो स्टार्टअप है वो MSME भी है, जो MSME है वो स्टार्टअप भी है इन मोस्ट ऑफ द केसेस। तो ये जो स्टार्टअप्स हैं उनके पास अपना कई बार फाइनेंस देखने का टाइम नहीं है। तो क्या होता है, जो मेरा ओपिनियन, आप मैं अगर गलत हूँ तो प्लीज़ ट्राई टू एजुकेट मी आल्सो। तो क्या होता है, लास्ट टाइम तक वो चार्ट अकाउंटेंट हम फॉलो अप करते रहते हैं, भाई जल्दी आओ, बैलेंस शीट का टाइम हो गया, ROC की डेट निकल जाएगी, फिर पेनल्टी लग जाएगी, इनकम टैक्स लग जाएगा। तो वो उसको टाइम नहीं है शायद, वो उसको पता है कि यार मैं क्या कमा रहा हूँ क्या कमा रहा हूँ, तो वो उसको बैलेंस शीट से ज़्यादा मतलब नहीं। लास्ट डे में जब उसको बिल्कुल ये हो जाता है कि भाई अब तो बहुत मुसीबत आ गई, तो बोलेगा अकाउंटेंट को कि जाओ भाई बैलेंस शीट बनवाओ यार, CA साहब ने कह दिया, वो बैलेंस शीट बन के आ जाएगी। शायद ये जो MSME स्टार्टअप्स हैं वो अपनी बैलेंस शीट साइन कर देंगे। वी हैव सीन इन मैनी केसेज, आई एम टेलिंग यू, कि हम जो अधिकतर बैलेंस शीट बनाते हैं शायद वो बनाते हैं इनकम टैक्स पॉइंट ऑफ व्यू से। बट हमें आज ये प्रण लेके जाना है कि हमें खाली इनकम टैक्स पॉइंट ऑफ व्यू से बैलेंस शीट नहीं बनानी है, हमें ये बैलेंस शीट इस हिसाब से बनानी है कि भैया उसकी ग्रोथ कल होनी चाहिए। एंड व्हाट आर द एसेंशियल रिक्वायरमेंट, कि हम ये देख लें कि वो जो बैलेंस शीट है इट शुड शो द करेक्ट पिक्चर। तो कई बार आते हैं फिर 10 करोड़ की टर्नओवर है साहब, कुछ दिलवा दो हमें, इन्वेस्टमेंट दिलवा दो, फंडिंग दिलवा दो, और प्रॉफिट कितना है भैया, 5 लाख रुपए का प्रॉफिट है। तो पूछते तो 4 लोग हैं भैया, आप, हमने कहा 4 लोग हैं, तो हमारा पियोन आपसे ज़्यादा कमाता है यार, क्या करोगे आप, कौन देगा आपको पैसा। ये पैसा मिलते ही ऐसा कौन सा जादू होने वाला है कि भैया आपका जो प्रॉफिट है वो एकदम 5 लाख से 5 करोड़ हो जाएगा। कोई जादू है क्या ऐसा कि पैसा मिल गया, चाहे वो इन्वेस्टमेंट है या वो लोन है। रेशोज हैं बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट। लोग क्या करते हैं, अपना पैसा अनसिक्योर्ड लोन में दिखाए रखते हैं कंपनी में। हम पूछते भाई ऐसा कौन सा बिजनेस है अपने आप को अपना आप लोन दे रहे हो, व्हाई डोंट यू कन्वर्ट इट इनटू कैपिटल। क्योंकि आप लिख के दे रहे हो बैलेंस शीट में, मैं तो उनको यही समझाता हूँ कि भैया आपकी बैलेंस शीट में लिखा हुआ है कि बेटा बैंक या जो भी है मुझे पैसा दे, और जैसे ही मेरा बिजनेस चलेगा या कुछ में कुछ प्रॉब्लम आएगी तो अपना पैसा लेके मैं तो भाग जाऊंगा। सो व्हाई डोंट यू इन्वेस्ट इनटू इक्विटी इनफैक्ट। तो ऐसी कुछ चीज़ें मैं समझता हूँ कि जो हम चार्टर्ड अकाउंटेंट्स हैं उनको ये हैंड होल्डिंग है, शायद वो बहुत ज़रूरी है। और अगर हम प्रॉपर हैंड होल्डिंग करेंगे इन SMBs की, स्टार्टअप की, तो वो भी ग्रो करेंगे। और यही एक ऐसा प्रोफेशन है दोस्तों, डॉक्टर्स होते हैं जब आदमी बीमार होता है तब याद करता है ना। एडवोकेट्स हैं जब वो कोई मर्डर वर्डर कर देगा, कोई केस में फंस जाएगा तब। चार्टर्ड अकाउंटेंट्स ही एक ऐसा प्रोफेशन है कि वो ग्रो करेंगे तो चार्टर्ड अकाउंटेंट भी ग्रो करेगा। तो मेरा सजेशन यही है कि हैंड होल्डिंग टू द क्लाइंट्स, अंडरस्टैंडिंग देयर बैलेंस शीट, एडवाइजिंग देम प्रॉपरली। वो कहे भैया मेरा टैक्स कम दे दो, बोले टैक्स कम देने से काम नहीं चलेगा, यू ट्रीट दिस एज एन एक्सपेंसिस इनफैक्ट, जो कमा रहे हो उस पर सरकार को भी दो पैसा। सो दीज आर सम ऑफ द एरियाज वेयर वी द चार्टर्ड अकाउंटेंट्स कैन एडवाइज एंड हैंड होल्ड दीज स्टार्टअप, सो दैट वो भी ग्रो करें और आप भी ग्रो करें और प्रोफेशन भी ग्रो करें।
Thank you, Mukesh ji. So I'll jump to the new topic because we have been, as a chartered accountant, we have been meeting a lot of business owners. I would say not startup founder, but business owners. So our clients are generally the SMEs or the large corporates. So we either meet the CFOs of those companies, corporates, or we meet the founders or the business owners or the promoters. So during that process of our practice, we come across a lot of financial gaps where internal control mechanism is not there. Rather, our articleship itself, we are given to understand how do we detect the fraud or how do we detect the gaps in financial accounting. So as a startup, this area is generally overlooked. We don't focus, and as Mukesh ji just now pointed out, we don't focus as a founder on the financial statement. Last moment that we wait for financial statement to get ready. And during entire process, our main focus for the startups, main focus is on growth, and main focus is on raising funds, or main focus is on product development. But most of the time, we ignore the key aspect of how do we become scalable in terms of creating right internal control mechanism, so that when we become bigger, the internal control mechanism will play a very important role in terms of growth, so that my dependency on the business is not there, and the system will take care of all the processes. So we as a chartered accountant, how do we like to address in terms of opportunities for chartered accountants in terms of creating internal control mechanism or risk mitigation, so that when they reach at the investment stage, they are being looked at as a primary customer or primary target for investment. Starting from Deepak ji, from you.
Sure. I would like to address this slightly differently. Not as a chartered accountant providing services to a client, but more as a CFO, for example, or a head of finance who is advising the founder, correct? Because at the early stage, you have absolutely nothing, to be very honest. You are experimenting with your idea, with technologies, with people, with your own abilities to build something out of something, correct? Every business passes through 4 phases, typically. And Google and Apples are no exception. There is one thing that you are dissatisfied with in the system, and you have a feature in mind that you think will solve the problem of the world, correct? But then a feature is not a product. So in the first phase, after your eureka moment or a spark in your mind that you have understood something and you will solve it, you went on to develop something. Now that's a first phase. In that phase, you absolutely have no business transactions. There is nothing to control, correct? There is only innovation, ideas flowing, and experimentation at a product level, at a service level, at an idea level, at prototype level happening. So there is absolutely, honestly, no role for anybody to play from, in this room, in that sense. Second stage is when the product is worked out and few people find that, okay, there could be a use, and you convert that into the business. Now that is a foundational stage of building a business, because as a chartered accountant, as a finance professional, very rarely we are called upon to contribute to the product development unless it is a fintech product or a adjacency. So at the stage of converting a product into the business, we should be advising founders in identifying right opportunities and right priorities, because you have 10,000 things to do. When I joined my first startup, in the initial days, there were many, friends in the fraternity, and everybody used to ask me that, can I come, and I can give you some tax saving ideas. And I was like, boss, पहले मेरे को 100 रुपए कमा देना, कमाने तो दे, correct? 100 रुपये का बिजनेस होगा तो 40 रुपया मैं पे कर दूंगा, बट तुम्हारे 40 रुपया पे करने के लिए, ना पे करने के लिए, वो 40 रुपये को 30 करने के लिए मैं 100 पे से ध्यान नहीं हटा सकता, correct? A founder will never agree to optimization proposition, never. If he agrees, then I think he is not fit. The founders are meant, or rather entrepreneurs, the entrepreneurs are meant to solve the complex problems that add value. Adding value is more important than efficiency. Efficiency, you can do it later. So at that point in time, mentoring founders, helping founders, identifying right opportunities, and balancing with our skills, whether you are inside the company or outside the company, balancing his skills with your ability to give him a right perspective, that these are the things for you to watch.
Big round of applause for this topic. This particular thing is very, very important for chartered accountant becoming the mentor, and he is talking with his own experience of advising the startups founder. Yeah. And that is where we also see, when I advise my startups, we see that gap. They talk about their product, but they ignore many other aspects in terms of the business growth.
Absolutely. And again, business building is a team. There are rarely you will see a single person who has ever built a sizable business. It's simply impossible. Business building is a team. Product building, yes, one person can build a product, but business building is a teamwork. You complement with, as a chartered accountant, we have the best understanding and a vantage point. Every transaction in the company goes through your hands. Every document that passes through, you have a view on it. Everything that happens, is evaluated from risk perspective, financial perspective, and you are sitting there. You have the best balcony seat for the movie, okay? Now you bring that expertise of connecting the dots, coupled with the training that we have all received for 3 years of articleship, and then the, Gada Majuri that we do in our initial years. You bring a fantastic viewpoint of how to build a business. A chartered accountant can be the best value capturer while the founders create value, okay? That's how you team up. If you help him in that phase, then the second phase will come, where the business is turned into organization, okay? And that is where the controls come into play. That is where the systems come into play. That is where governance come into play. That is where compliance and all that, becomes super more critical. And of course, the financing and everything at each stage, keeps on happening depending upon its viability. But only in the last phase that people pay attention to your numbers. Before that, nobody pays attention to the numbers. What they pay attention to? Who is solving the problem? Which problem is being solved? And what is the traction? correct? These are the three things that happen at that point in time. Everything else becomes immaterial. After that, yes, the numbers speak for itself, and it's the numbers that they, bank on. So chartered accountants can play a pivotal role. If I use our Indian terminology, आप किसी भी स्टार्टअप की कुंडली में केंद्र स्थान पे बैठ सकते हो 110%. Okay, and we need to a little bit, I'll say some things that are very close to my heart, and few people may not like it. We need to rise above compliances. We need to rise above accounts. We need to look at finance. Accounting is a base. Accounting is past looking. Accounting explains the past. In startup, what is valued is how you explain the future. And that is where the finance plays a role. We all have a seat that nobody else occupies, at least in my experience of working with various multinationals, various startups. Former president was saying decacorns and all, okay? You have the best seat in the world. I'm a Harvard alumni also, but if I have to hire a Harvard, MBA or a chartered accountant for a job, and if the skill sets are, if the experience is same, I will always hire a chartered accountant, because we have the experience and understanding that I haven't seen anywhere else. We just need to look above, what we have been doing on our day-to-day life, and that is where the magic will happen.
Very well spoken point, Deepak ji. And that is where I see there are many chartered accountant who presented. I am part of investors pitch presentation also, and yesterday I saw few pitches where chartered accountants creating solutions for business automation, and that is where you rightly pointed out that we have to grow above the regulatory compliances because there is automation available. We should look at finance, or we should look at the larger picture of the business.
And I'll just corroborate what he was saying. Mukesh Bhai was saying in the previous topic, the hand holding. It is so critical. The hand holding is so critical. You have to be the guide and a mentor to the founders, because they are either technocrats or the young people who haven't seen the world the way you have seen and understood the risks in the business that the way you have understood the risks. Correct? They are looking for somebody who can be their mentor, their guide, their sarthi, their navigator, whatever we call it, or Sherpa. Correct? And if you handhold them properly, you would have stellar stories to tell and center stage in creating super values. Handholding is very, very important.
So coming to my next set of questions related to CA becoming founders. We heard Aman Gupta created board that is startup as a chartered accountant, and not only just the finance, but he's taking care of marketing. He's the chief marketing officer also, CMO also. So we can play a role of creating the startup or building the startup, becoming unicorn, and providing marketing support also, becoming a global brand, Indian global brand, competing with many other players in the same industry. We as a chartered accountant, how can we become founders and creating more unicorns? You have started your own startup after working with many startups and other play. I'll come to you later. But Garg Saab, you have also started very recently your own startup.
Yes, sir.
If you can briefly touch upon what made you start up your own venture, and second, as a fellow chartered accountant, how can we encourage people in our circle to create more startup, and what we should look at, what has been your experience, so that we can guide them accordingly, that these are the challenges that you are going to face, and this is how you overcome, or you have looked at the larger picture of your startups.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir. Sir, I have started my family startup just now 2-3 months back. एंड जो अभी दीपक जी ने बोला कि भाई हमें अकाउंटिंग और कंप्लाइंस से बाहर निकलना है, वो करते करते अब वहाँ से मतलब थक चुके हैं, ऊब चुके हैं, तो अब मन कर रहा है कि भाई अपना कोई स्टार्टअप करें और अपना जो मन में इच्छा थी उसको पूरा करें. और सर ये जो चैलेंजेस हैं वो तो देखो आएंगे ही, जैसे जैसे हम आगे बढ़ेंगे तो उनको जैसे जैसे चैलेंजेस आएंगे उस हिसाब से देख के उनको सोल्व किया जाएगा. और हमें ये देखना चाहिए सर, देयर इज problem everywhere. The startup is start with the problem, and in the startup we find out the solution of that problem. There are many problems, but every problem can't be converted into a profitable business model. But we have to think that which problem can be converted into a profitable business model. इन द सेम वे मतलब इसी तरह से जो हमारे दूसरे सीए भाई हैं उनको भी सोचना चाहिए कि प्रॉब्लम तो बहुत सारी हैं, इंडिया इतना बड़ा है और हमारी जो भी सिस्टम है उनमें, तो उसमें से क्या एक अपने लिए अपॉर्चुनिटी निकाल सकते हैं, ये मैं कहना चाहूँगा. थैंक यू.
Yeah, Deepak ji, I'll go to Deepak ji first. If you can share your experience of starting your
Okay.
own venture,
Yeah.
taking your experience from working with startups.
Yeah. No, I think, as I said, we sit at the center of everything that happens in most of the business. If you are in the business, or even as a chartered accountant, you have better visibility than any other external consultant, correct? And forget about all these things. External business or businesses that we don't understand otherwise, intricately, correct? अभी मतलब टेक्नोलॉजी है, वो हमारा फोर्टे नहीं है. हमें अकाउंटिंग आता है, हमें हमारी प्रोसेस आती है, हमारा कंप्लायंस आता है. Have you ever thought, how do I solve the problem that I face myself every day? Something is frustrating you. Not everybody is happy with everything that is going on in your life at workplace, correct? There is something that will frustrate you at the workplace, whether it is, document back and forth, whether it is a filing, whether it is this, whether it is that, whether ये software काम नहीं कर रहा है, या फिर ये industry समझ में नहीं आ रही है. You get frustrated with everything, something, every day. Start with that. If you want to solve problem in a different way, start with that frustration, because a software is not about innovation. It's not about invention. आप कोई नया element of earth नहीं ढूंढने वाले हो. Startup is all about innovation, not invention. Innovation is, as we were talking about, doing things in a new way, better way, efficient way, correct? Think about your frustration. Think how better it would have been solved that problem. Let's say you are given a clean slate, correct? That this compliance is bugging you, MCA 21, whatever, I don't know the name exactly, but that website doesn't work. How would you solve it? It might be a bold statement, but then startup, there has to be a difference between, a small venture and a startup, correct? If you have a grand vision, how would you do it differently? Correct? My colleague is here. One day we were frustrated with one of these things, and I said, once DocuX becomes successful, okay, I'll focus on creating every website of the government. I'll develop it at my cost, and I'll give government free of cost, with a guarantee that every time it will work, at every scale it will work. It will be the biggest service that we'll do to the country. How do you solve it differently? How do you not limit yourself, correct? There is no limit. Software, at the core, 1996 was the first year when I get my first brush to the software I was talking to you yesterday, correct? The basic thing I understood was that software is a human effort automated. And the limitation because of that, if you think rationally, the limitation is your own limitation, correct? Today, software can do almost everything that you want to do. You can actually fly an aircraft from here and land it on moon. Why can't you do basic problem solving? It's because we are stuck with something. We are not able to go out of the context and out of the fight to understand that, how I differently can solve it. आप एक boxing match में हो, या तो आपको punch मारना है, या फिर आपको punch है वो duck करना है. This is your day-to-day life. You would never understand what the other guy is doing wrong or right, and you would never understand what you are doing wrong. If you get out of the ring, you will understand it. So zoom out and understand how you can solve it differently. Try it. Startup का दूसरा नाम है iteration. You will fail 20 times before you will be reasonably successful first time, and then improve. Nobody develops a product that works for the first time, correct? In my days, in 1997, 98, I had done what today you have, the Taxman online and everything. I couldn't sustain it. It was my first failure as a startup founder in 1997, when SaaS was not even coined term in the world, okay? But that gave me a great lesson, that I failed because I did not understand technology. I did not understand how to market it and monetize it and position it, correct? In our curriculum, it's not taught. In back though, this curriculum is much better. In our days, nothing was there around this, correct? I did not have idea how to monetize this. I did not have the ability to fund it. Government scheme, with the friends like Mukesh Bhai and others, today the government is listening to us and they are coming out with the schemes. In those days, we didn't have any venture capitalist in the country. So I failed. Then I decided, how would I not fail again? Is to understand how to market, is to understand how to develop product. I can code also, by the way. How to understand, product development, how to understand technology, how to understand grow to market strategy, how to understand the global market, because software is a global market, correct? And how to monetize it. And how to create a strength that I don't need finance at all. Correct? So learn from your own
comes to my
iteration,
next
boss.
topic actually.
Learn from your own iteration. It's easy.
Yeah.
Startup is not difficult. It's just about getting frustrated with something and just go one step further. Do something about it. Do something.
छोटा सा ऐड करना चाह रहा हूँ सर, जो दीपक जी ने बात कही है ना कि जो तुम्हें फ्रस्ट्रेट कर रहे हैं, उसके बारे में हम आते हुए बात कर रहे थे जैन साहब और मैं जब फ्लाइट में थे, तो मैंने कहा जैन साहब ये जो जीएसटी की रिटर्न है R1 और 3B हर महीने आती है, तो इसमें बहुत परेशानी होती है। इसका हमारे को कुछ ऐसा सॉल्यूशन करना चाहिए कि एक सॉफ्टवेयर बना दे और क्लाइंट खुद ही कर दे। तो फिर जैन साहब ने कहा भाई फीस कम मिलेगी, मैंने कहा कोई नहीं, कम फीस मिलेगी लेकिन ज़्यादा क्लाइंट होंगे, ऑटोमेटिक पूरी इंडिया हमारा क्लाइंट होगा।
बिजनेस कभी भी पैसे के लिए मत बनाओ, बिजनेस सॉल्यूशन के लिए बनाओ। लोग पैसे सामने से देते हैं।
यस सर, यस सर।
बहुत बड़ा स्टेटमेंट है सर।
सर मैं एक छोटा सा ऐड कर लूँ इसमें, तो ये बिल्कुल सही बात है जो दीपक जी ने कहा कि, और इसमें एक अपॉर्चुनिटी भी है चार्टर्ड अकाउंटेंट्स के लिए। अगेन आई वुड लाइक टू टेक यू टू दैट कि आपको ना पिच डेक बनाना सबसे इंपॉर्टेंट जो काम है किसी भी स्टार्टअप के लिए। जब हम इन्वेस्टर ढूंढते हैं ना, तो सबसे पहले क्या होता है, पिच डेक आपने सुना होगा। पिच डेक इज नथिंग बट ए पीपीटी। तो पीपीटी में आपको 5-6 चीजें बतानी है। आपको बताना है कि भाई एक तो प्रमोटर्स कौन है, फाउंडर कौन है, को फाउंडर कौन है। फिर आपको बताना है क्या प्रॉब्लम है भाई जिसके लिए आप ये स्टार्टअप करना चाहते हो। फिर आपको उसका सोल्यूशन बताना है और फिर उसकी स्केलेबिलिटी बतानी है। मुझे लगता है ये कुछ बेसिक सी चीज़ है जो आपको अपने पीपीटी में बनानी है। सुंदर सा बनाना है उस पीपीटी को और प्रेजेंटेबल बनाना है और साथ में रियलिस्टिक होना चाहिए। जैसे पहले भी कह रहे थे कि भाई रियलिस्टिक चीज़ होनी चाहिए। अब जैसे आपने कहा कि भाई पैसे की बात नहीं, कोई प्रॉब्लम अगर हम सॉल्व कर रहे हैं तो ऐसा हुआ। मैं अपना एक छोटा सा एक्सपीरियंस बताता हूँ आपको कि हम लोग एमएसएमई में और स्टार्टअप में बहुत काम करते हैं। तो समबडी फ्रॉम द मिनिस्ट्री वाज सिटिंग इन माय ऑफिस। और ये कैसे स्टार्ट हुआ था, जो हमने ये यूट्यूब चैनल जो शुरू किया था, तो उन्होंने कहा कि भाई मैंने उनको बोला ये आपकी स्कीम बहुत अच्छी है। तो उन्होंने कहा हाँ ये तो आप अच्छा कह रहे हो, ये तो होना चाहिए। मैंने बोला नहीं होना चाहिए नहीं, ये तो स्कीम है आपकी। तो ही वॉज नॉट अवेयर एक्चुअली, मतलब ऐसा नहीं, इज ए वेरी इंटेलिजेंट ऑफिसर, बट इतना बड़ा डिपार्टमेंट है, सब चीज़ सबको नहीं पता हो सकती। तो मैंने कहा देखो ये तो आपकी वेबसाइट पर है। बोले अच्छा, ये तो यार मुझे तो पता नहीं था। मैंने अपने ऑफिस में बुलाया किसी को, मैंने बोला यार एक वीडियो बनाओ, इसके ऊपर जरा डालते हैं। तो वो सुन के चला गया कि यार ये क्या पागल हो गए यार। तो मैंने थोड़ी देर बाद फिर याद आया, मैंने बोला क्या हुआ। बोला सर कौन देखेगा। मैंने कहा 2-4 लोग तो देख लेंगे। तो उसने फिर कहा कि साहब उसके लिए वो कहाँ डालोगे। तो तब तक ये प्री कोविड का टाइम था, तो मुझे भी ज़्यादा आइडिया नहीं था। तो मैंने बोला कहाँ डलता है यार, सोशल मीडिया पे जो डालते हैं। बोला यूट्यूब पे डलेगा। हमने कहा डाल दो, उसके लिए अकाउंट बनाना पड़ेगा। हमने कहा बना सकते हैं क्या, एलिजिबल है। बोला बना तो सकते हैं। हमने कहा बना दो यार। तो बोला कौन देखेगा सर ये, वहाँ पे डांस म्यूजिक गाना ये वो। हमने कहा कोई 4 लोग देख लेंगे, उनको फायदा हो जाएगा, बना दो। टुडे मोर देन 4 करोड़ व्यूअर्स। अब मैंने उसमें
दिस इज द वे दैट
सर
प्रॉब्लम
बस
इज
एक मिनट और लूंगा। तो अब उसमें क्या हुआ, अब लोग, मैं उसमें ज़्यादा जैसे लोन्स की स्कीम ज़्यादा बताता हूँ, उसमें मुझे लोग ज़्यादा पसंद करते हैं। यार मैं लोन दिला रहा हूँ, तो लोग मुझे वहाँ गालियाँ वालियाँ देते हैं, क्या गुप्ता जी सारे दिन ये ढोल बजाते रहते हो, बैंक तो कोई लोन वोन देता नहीं है उसमें। सो दैट इज, सो आई फाउंड दैट दिस इज द प्रॉब्लम। और दूसरी तरफ क्या होता है, बैंक आते हैं, बैंक कहते हैं कि भाई साहब वो कोई प्रपोजल दो एमएसएमई का बढ़िया सा, स्टार्टअप का प्रपोजल दो। यू विल नॉट बिलीव फ्रेंड्स, जितने पब्लिक सेक्टर बैंक्स हैं उन सब ने हमारे साथ एमओयू साइन किया है फॉर द फर्स्ट टाइम इन द कंट्री। वो कह रहे हैं कि साहब आप लीड दे दो, बैंक के भी लीड दे दो हमें, राइट। सो दोनों पार्टी परेशान है। बैंक कह रहे हैं कि भाई हमें प्रायोरिटी सेक्टर एडवांस नहीं मिल रहा, और अगर प्रायोरिटी सेक्टर एडवांस नहीं करेंगे, आप तो सब चार्टर्ड अकाउंटेंट आप जानते हैं, तो उनको जो गैप है वो इन्वेस्ट करना पड़ेगा 2% में गवर्नमेंट सिक्योरिटीज में। और इधर एमएसएमईज हैं या स्टार्टअप है, वो कह रहे हैं कि यार कोई लोन ही नहीं देता, तो दोनों परेशान है। तो हमने कहा भाई एक लड़का लड़की दोनों परेशान है, भाई शादी नहीं हो रही आजकल, ये प्रॉब्लम सबकी है। बच्चे बड़े बड़े हो जाते हैं, 30-35 साल के हो जाते हैं, शादी वादी होती नहीं है। तो हमने कहा कि भाई ये शादी.com इसमें कुछ मदद कर रहा है। तो हमने भी सोचा है कि यार एक शादी.com बनाते हैं, पंडित जी बन जाते हैं, जो दोनों की जो जन्मपत्री है वो मिलाएगा। यानी एक जो बोरोवर है या स्टार्टअप है और जो लेंडर है, उन दोनों की जन्मपत्री मिलाने का हमने अभी वी जस्ट स्टार्टेड इनफैक्ट ए मार्केट प्लेस। हमने कहा कि भाई देखो होता क्या है, जो स्टार्टअप है ना, जाता है जिस ब्रांच में या जिस बैंक में या जिस इन्वेस्टर के पास, वो तो उस सेक्टर में करता ही नहीं है, तो उसको भगा देता है कि यार ये क्या है यार, ये मुझे करना नहीं है। या उसकी अगर बैंक है तो बैंक में हो सकता है कि उसका कोई रिकवरी का अकाउंट हो, कोई ख़राब हो गया हो, कोई उसको सीबीआई की इंक्वायरी चल रही है, उसका लोन ऑफिसर नहीं है, तो वो वहाँ करना नहीं चाहता। बट दूसरा उसका बराबर वाला जो बैंक की ब्रांच है वो ढूंढ रहा है कि यार कोई प्रपोजल दो। सो वी आर ट्राइंग टू क्रिएट ए मार्केट प्लेस कि जहाँ पर देर विल बी एन नंबर ऑफ प्रपोजल्स ऑफ दीज स्टार्टअप एंड एमएसएमईज, और बैंकर्स को कहते हैं कि भैया आप सेलेक्ट कर लो, you also register yourself, and now you show your interest, and before showing it to the bankers and the investors, we are doing all due diligence. उनका MCA से due diligence है, credit bureau due diligence है, GST reporting है, all those things. So they are also comfortable कि ठीक है, and only those banker, lender, investor will come जिनको उस sector में उस लोकेशन पर इन्वेस्ट करना है। सो ऐसी दोस्तों बस प्रॉब्लम ढूंढिए और उसका कुछ सॉल्यूशन देखिए कि क्या है, कैसे उसका हम सॉल्यूशन कुछ निकाल सकते हैं। जरूरी नहीं है एक में फेल होंगे, कोई बात नहीं, किसी दूसरे को आजमाइए। और सबको बहुत ज़्यादा, मैं तो ये भी कहूँगा कि सबको स्टार्टअप बनने की जरूरत भी नहीं है वैसे, है ना। हम सभी अगर सोचेंगे कि हम सभी स्टार्टअप बन जाएंगे तो फिर तब भी दुनिया शायद नहीं चलेगी। तो अपनी कैपेबिलिटी हमें पहचाननी है, और साथ में जो हमारे क्लाइंट्स हैं उनकी भी कैपेबिलिटी पहचानिए। अगर आपको लगता है कि नहीं है, विद योर एक्सपीरियंस, इनफैक्ट सच ए रिच एक्सपीरियंस, उनको भी गाइड कीजिए कि भाई देखो आपके पास अभी जो बिजनेस है उतना स्केलेबल नहीं है। कोई आदमी आके कहे कि साहब मैं रेस्टोरेंट खोलना चाहता हूँ, बहुत बढ़िया, और जो मैकडोनल्ड्स है और ये है वो है, उसके हिसाब से मैं खोलना चाहता हूँ अभी यहाँ पे, तो उसको बोलिए कि भाई एक तो खोलो, तो आप देखो तो कि आपके पास कस्टमर आ रहे हैं, क्या आपके पास क्वालिटी है, क्या टेक्नोलॉजी है आपके पास, फिर वो स्केलेबिलिटी की बात हम करेंगे। सो लेट देम प्रूव आल्सो कि हाँ हम कुछ कर सकते हैं। मुझे ऐसा लगता है कि दीपक जी परहैप्स यू विल एग्री कि खाली बातों से भी नहीं, कुछ ना कुछ हमें प्रूव भी करना पड़ेगा कि हाँ हम यस वी हैव द कैपेबिलिटीज टू डू इट।
मुकेश जी थोड़ा टाइम शॉर्ट है, या
एक मिनट लूंगा बस। दो टॉपिक की बात हुई और बड़े इंपॉर्टेंट टॉपिक आपने रेज किए गोयल साहब। नंबर 1 इंटरनल कंट्रोल एंड इंटरनल चेक, और ये चार्टर्ड अकाउंटेंट्स में बड़ा रोल इंपॉर्टेंट प्ले कर सकते हैं। मैं हमेशा कहता हूँ देखिए इंटरनल चेक किस तरह से आप गाड़ी को मिस्ट्री चेक करवाते हैं, टायर प्रेशर है कि नहीं है, दैट इज लाइक इंटरनल चेक। इंटरनल कंट्रोल हमेशा काम करता है बैक एंड पे, और मैं हमेशा कहता हूँ इंटरनल कंट्रोल गाड़ी में ब्रेक की तरह होता है। ब्रेक को जोर से लगा देंगे गाड़ी पलट जाएगी, नहीं लगाएंगे तो एक्सीडेंट कर जाएगी। तो इंटरनल कंट्रोल को चेक करना ही अपने आप में बड़ा इंपॉर्टेंट रोल है। और जब हम ड्यू डिलिजेंस में जाते हैं, स्टार्टअप जनरली जाते हैं, तो हमेशा वो फेल हो जाते हैं कि इंटरनल कंट्रोल प्रोसेस नहीं है। वो कारण क्या होता है, 3 लोग स्टार्टअप शुरू करते हैं, एक खुद CEO, CMD, चेयरमैन वो खुद ही होता है, 2-3 असिस्टेंट होते हैं, एक लैपटॉप पे काम कर रहा होता है, वो कहता है साहब चेक किससे करवाऊँ, मैं कंट्रोल कैसे इंप्लीमेंट करूँ। एंड हेयर द रोल ऑफ द चार्टर्ड कम इनटू द प्ले। अगर आप उसको एक सिस्टम बना सकते हैं, आपको पता है कि व्हेन ए मैन कैन इंट्रोस्पेक्ट हिमसेल्फ, अगर हम CEO से कह सकते हैं नो यू शुड इंट्रोस्पेक्ट योरसेल्फ फर्स्ट, देन इट इज गोइंग टू बी अ प्रॉपर इंटरकंट्रोल। सेकेंडली 100 में से अगर 90 स्टार्टअप फेल हो रहे हैं तो हमें सक्सेस स्टोरी नहीं सुननी, हमें पहले फेलियर स्टोरी सुनने की आदत होनी चाहिए, वाई दे फेल। और बायजू जैसा जाके इतना बड़ा अगर प्रॉब्लम में आ सकता है तो प्लीज अंडरस्टैंड, सक्सेस स्टोरी से इंप्रेस ना होइए, पहले फेलियर। स्पेड वर्क बहुत कम है। मैं जितने भी स्टार्टअप देख रहा हूँ, बस एक आइडिया आया, हमें लगा कि इससे अच्छा आइडिया तो हमने हो ही नहीं सकता। सारी दुनिया में बस हम कल जाके बस पिच डेक बनाया, DCF से वैल्यूएशन करी, कोई आएगा और दुल्हन ले जाएगा। नहीं सर, ऐसा नहीं हो रहा है। ऐसा ना हो जो आपके पास है वो भी चला जाए, तो इसलिए प्लीज डू द स्पेड वर्क।
Thank you Sunil ji, and just a fact that I would like to share, we talked about 1 lakh startups operating in India, registered with Government of India website. How many have been promoted by chartered accountants and how many have been promoted by engineers? 80% have been promoted by engineers, and that is where we as a chartered accountant, lot of ideas that we discussed, and seeing the enthusiasm of all the fellow chartered accountants, not to senior chartered accountants, there are multiple ideas available with our fresh graduated chartered accountants or the articles who have brilliant ideas. We as chartered accountant, how can we play a role of becoming their mentor on taking that idea into business and a scalable business? So any other further that point you would like to add as a chartered accountant we can play in terms of bringing more, and rather because CA Institute office bearer is also here, if I can ask you also, because you are sitting on the panel side. One second, Deepak bhai, yeah. So as a chartered accountant, at one point was raised by a panelist that we don't teach entrepreneurship in our curriculum. Can institute play, and there are many institutions, educational institutions who provide startup mentoring or startup cell also they have created in engineering colleges and many other colleges.
So
Can
Anil
we,
ji,
as a,
Sorry to interject, but before you answer, if you ever bring out this as a initiative, okay, I'll be the first one to come and teach and mentor and give my time absolutely without any cost.
Thank you, Deepak Bhai, for your kind words. Anilji, I would like to inform you when we are discussing about the startup here in BKC ICI Tower, there is one competition is going on for pitching a deck for the students, and we
wow,
will
very
award
good.
all our best students. You can say we will award over here once they will complete the
So
presentation. So
a
you
huge
can
round of
understand.
claps for Saurabh ji. He's the chairperson of startup cell for Institute of Chartered Accountant WIRC, correct?
Yes. So, and here I like to update you. We are having regular programs for startup. We are having angel group meetings also. We'll have co-founder and founders meetings also. We have launched a concept that is Startup Lab, where we are discussing in depth for each and every element where we can contribute. And friends, I like to inform you that for long-term sustainability, every startup is looking for that, and where we can play our very important role. So, sir, we are very integral part of this.
Apart from that, the panelists, on behalf of panelists and all the audience also, fellow chartered accountants rather, we would suggest if we can create a platform where education, the startup
Yes.
education or encouraging the creation of a startup by chartered accountant, so that we can also be in the list of all those top-notch startups created by chartered accountants like Aman Gupta. We can create more Aman Gupta and then discuss here that why chartered accountants are successful in terms of creating unicorns in India and going international.
So to promote the same, that is why we are having this type of program in each and every year. In 2016, we had Startup Manthan, and from that time, we are doing this big program, and we are raising scales. We are doing, in each year, we are upgrading ourselves, we are doing at next level. So our members can aware about all these things.
Yeah.
And first time, we have allowed all our students, all our members to visit the exhibit area. This is completely a unique thing which we have allowed this time, so they can understand all this ecosystem of startup, how they are pitching, how they are exhibiting. This is the scenario where we are working.
May I make one suggestion? Just, and this is great, I mean, I wish, when we were qualifying and when we qualified, something like this would have happened at that point in time. We would have had probably the reverse ratio of engineers to chartered accountants if we had, something like that at that point in time. May I make a suggestion here that we seriously think about overhauling our curriculum to include certain entrepreneurial aspects, not theoretical, but imbibing certain practical aspects. Anil ji और मैं, बात कर रहे थे before the session, that we should have some initiatives where we groom people's entrepreneurship abilities and traits. Not everyone will become entrepreneur, correct? But we give them fair chance. That is first step. The second part we are already doing, creating an ecosystem, allowing them to come up with the ideas, providing them funding and platform and stuff. The most important in success is the third stage. How do you help them operationalize and roll it out? Correct? That is what I was referring to, where, there is a huge vacuum. Even Harvard has a lab where, you do compete with your startups and all that, but they still do not have something on the operational side. How do you handhold, or how do you provide resources or the mentors to, the new startups that helps them roll out their product, iterate with their product, provide them validations of their product, help them build the organizations, what are the cornerstones. Now, there are industry associations which are doing this. For example, there is a SaaS Bhumi, which is Association of SaaS Founders. I'm speaking in Pune, taking a workshop of, about 10, 15 startups there, okay, in terms of how to build organizations and how to build a business, correct? If we do something like this as a regular mechanism, I'm telling you honestly, we have a larger community than most of the other communities in terms of professionals. We have better viewpoint, vantage point, and I think if we come together, we can accelerate everything, by 10x easily.
So thank
मुझे
you,
लगता है आपका
Deepak
सपना ना
Bhai.
सर 1 जुलाई को पूरा होने वाला है वैसे.
Yes, yes, new education
On 1st of
policy.
July, perhaps as far as I know, the new curriculum is going to be announced on CA Day. तो मुझे लगता है जो आपकी जो ख्वाब है वो शायद 1 जुलाई को पूरा होने वाला है. मैं अनिल जी आपकी परमिशन से हाँ एक चीज मैं कर दूं, एक छोटा सा अनाउंसमेंट. I would like to introduce respected Shri M. Narendra ji. He is here in fact with us. He was earlier chairman and managing director of Indian Overseas Bank. Very wide experienced banker in fact.
Welcome,
he had been
sir.
on
Thank
various
you.
other banks also. So thank you very much for being with
So
us. Sir.
2 more topics.
Sir, Anilji,
we
sorry,
would like to
I
con-
like to inform to all the audience, as Deepak Bhai is also said, that we have our own incubation center at ICI BKC Tower. So we are promoting all the initiative which we can. I like to inform all the participants, please do join over there whenever you want to be the part of incubation center.
This is a great opportunity
बस
for
एक
all
चीज
the
और
chartered
बताऊंगा आपको.
accountants.
अभी मैं श्रीनगर गया था recently. तो institute I suppose is doing great job for educating the chartered accountants in fact. तो अभी श्रीनगर में किया 3 दिन का प्रोग्राम किया thanks to Raj Chawla ji and धीरज जी. MSME and startup committee है institute की. So they are organizing lot of such type of event. और 1 तारीख को शायद आपका सपना सच होने वाला है.
Thank you very much. And this is the opportunity for all the chartered accountants make use of that incubation center so that we can encourage our fellow chartered accountants or our clients to make use of it. 2 topics I would like to cover more. One is angel investing by chartered accountants. And second is cash burn versus bootstrap, which has been talked many times. So most of the startups, when they come to us, they ask funds for cash burn. Cash burn is a new term that has been used widely now, especially the so-called unicorns. They have grown and become unicorn or more than that because of the cash burn, and still they are burning cash. So my point to or my question to all the panelists as to what is their viewpoint in terms of cash burn funding versus bootstrap. And we have been advising our clients as a chartered accountant that that we should make profit, not the lost balance sheet. And nobody likes lost balance sheet, but still we are getting funding for lost balance sheet, and that is what the cash burn is coined. So Mukesh ji, over to you.
सर मैं थोड़ा हो सकता है मेरी बातें दकियानूसी लगे आपको थोड़ा, बट मेरा मानना है कि ये ना बहुत लंबे समय का गेम अब बचा नहीं है. ये जो कैश बर्निंग है, जब मैंने बर्निंग ऑफ कैश सुना था ना पहली बार, तो मुझे समझ ही नहीं आया कि यार ये कौन सा बिजनेस है जहाँ पे पैसे जला रहे हैं. मतलब 2000 रुपए का नोट या 500 रुपए का नोट लेके उसमें आग लगाएंगे, जलाएंगे और कोई हमें उसको फंडिंग करेगा. काफ़ी चल गया. और मुझे लगता है कि अभी जो बहुत सारे एग्जाम्पल्स भी हुए, चलो कैश बर्निंग पे भी शायद मिलता रहता, बट अभी जो एथिकल और जो फ्रॉड टाइप के हैं, चाहे वो हाउसिंग है, housing.com, चाहे वो बाइजूस हैं, या ऐसे बहुत सारे एग्जाम्पल्स अभी हम देखें तो पिछले 4-6 महीने में हमने देखे हैं कि बहुत सारे ऐसे एग्जाम्पल हैं जहाँ शायद इन्वेस्टर्स को भी ये समझ आना चाहिए मेरे हिसाब से तो कि भैया ये कैश बर्निंग के लिए पैसा देने की अभी ज़रूरत नहीं है. प्रॉफिट है, उससे वैल्यूशन करिए आप उसको. तो मुझे लगता है कि ये बहुत ज़्यादा लंबे समय तक शायद ये कैश बर्निंग वाला सिस्टम चलने वाला नहीं है. हो सकता है माय फेलो पैनलिस्ट में गाइड मी आल्सो.
देखिए जैसे जो सर ने पॉइंट रेज किया है, देयर आर 2 व्यू पॉइंट्स, लेकिन एज फार एज द कैश बर्निंग इज एन इशू, उसमें 2 बातें हैं. आप एक आइडिया को बर्न मतलब कैश बर्न करके उस आइडिया को जन्म दे रहे हो. आपने बीज डाला, आपने पानी डाला, तो पौधा बाहर निकलेगा. पौधा जब नजर आता है बाहर निकल जाए, जब तक वो बीज अंदर है तो नजर नहीं आता. लेकिन इसमें 2 पॉइंट छुपे हुए हैं. मैं हमेशा बहुत सारी बैलेंस शीट्स देखता हूँ, बहुत सारे लोगों को प्लानिंग करता हूँ. तो जब आप कैश बर्न में लॉस क्लेम कर रहे हैं तो इट्स ए बैड प्लानिंग. रादर when you are investing in an idea, rather I will say it's an investment in an idea, and as a chartered accountant you should understand that we should create an intangible asset. अगर आप उसकी इंटेंजिबल एसेट क्रिएट करेंगे तो लॉस असेट में कन्वर्ट हो जाएगा. आर यू गेटिंग माय पॉइंट? इफ यू आर क्रिएटिंग अ IPR फॉर दैट, फॉर कैश बर्निंग, now you have to plan like that. You should be a mentor, you are a CFO of that startup. तो अगर आप उसको कैश बर्न करके लॉस ले रहे हैं तो वो इन्वेस्टेबल आइडिया नहीं बचता. थोड़े दिन बाद में लगता है कि यार बड़ा लॉस हो गया, बड़ा लॉस हो गया. लेकिन अगर मैं एज ए चार्टर्ड अकाउंटेंट उसको एडवाइस करूँ कि नहीं सर आप इसका IPR क्रिएट कीजिए, आप इससे टेक्निकल नो हाउ क्रिएट कीजिए, आप इससे वैल्यूएशन गुडविल क्रिएट कीजिए, या टेक्निकल नो हाउ में आप इसको कैपिटलाइज कीजिए, तो आपको 2 फायदे हो रहे हैं. दो इट्स ए कैश बर्न, कैश इज नेगेटिव, but your balance sheet is not negative. Are you getting my point? आपका cash तो गया, cash flow तो out, cash outflow is always not a loss. You understand this thing. Rather you are capitalizing that. और आपके पास एक दो बेनिफिट मिलते हैं उसके. नंबर वन, आपको पता होगा कि स्टार्टअप इंडिया में पेटेंट के लिए आपको 85% सब्सिडी है. 85% सब्सिडी है. आप ब्रांड वैल्यू क्रिएट करते हैं उसके लिए सब्सिडी है. सेकेंडली, आप उसकी रिवैल्यूएशन क्रिएट कर सकते हैं. आप उसकी रिवैल्यूएशन कर सकते हैं. दो इट विल बी अ रिवैल्यूएशन रिजर्व, और उसके बाद आपको डेप्रिसिएशन क्लेम करेंगे आप उसके ऊपर. तो एक ही आइडिया से, एक आपकी एडवाइस से एक लॉस की चीज असेट में कन्वर्ट हो रही है. आप मेरी बात समझ रहे? Pardon?
Some of the startups, sir, they burn cash by selling the product at lower cost, sir. So every expenditure is not capitalized.
नहीं
Cannot
नहीं,
be capitalized.
एवरी एक्सपेंडिचर इज नॉट आईपीआर. आई डू एग्री विद यू. लेकिन जहां पर आप आईपीआर क्रिएट कर सकते हैं वहां तो
Yeah,
कीजिए कम से कम. आप उसको तो क्रिएट कर सकते हैं ना
Yeah,
सर.
that's right, sir.
लेकिन जो आपका आइडिया में आप इन्वेस्टमेंट कर रहे हैं, यू कैन क्रिएट दैट आईपीआर.
So Sunilji's point, if I understood correctly, for the better clarity, he's talking about investing into the idea stage, creating IPR, creating a product innovation, and then go for self-revenue generation, not the reducing the selling price and burning cash because of the low selling price. So initially it may be at the idea stage, and that is where my second point comes, sir.
Hello? Yeah. If I rephrase your question, you are asking a simplistic, you come to me today as your advisor, you are a startup founder. Should I raise or not? Fundamentally, correct? Should I bootstrap my company or should I not? Correct? Or should I raise? Now, my answer as a chartered accountant, as a CFO of that startup, and as a founder is the same. Okay? Funding is a ticket to time travel. Funding allows you to build your business by short-circuiting the time span that is otherwise traditionally taken. For example, what Jain Saab was saying, that some startups burn money by reducing the price. What they are trying to do, they are trying to capture the market faster than it would take with a regular price. So it's a ticket to time travel. At the product development stage, when I'm raising it because I can hire 20 people instead of hiring 2, which I can afford right now, which again is a time travel only to shorten the duration of a development and iteration of the product and hit to the market. So it's fundamentally a ticket to time travel. Now, whether you buy that ticket or not is dependent upon two fundamentals. How long is your journey otherwise? What are the risks in it? Correct? If you can answer confidently that I can manage the risks for the duration that otherwise would take, you should never raise. Okay, you should never raise. Because at the initial stage when you shed your equity, a lot of value leakage happens. A lot of value leakage happens. Because at the idea stage, the value of the business is very small. I know because I am friends with many of the venture capitalists and big firms. People who have invested initially only few millions, let's say in Flipkart or some of the other companies, have got not only multi-millions or tens of millions, they've got billions out of it. Okay, so Sachin Bansal, when he raised $15 million in Series A, it costed him more than, like 6-7 billion when he exited the transaction. Okay, so if you know how you are going to do the business and you can manage, you should never raise. But if the risks are high, the territory is uncharted, you don't know how to navigate, then our fundamental principle that is taught in our curriculum, prudence, the basic of our accounting methodology that is fed into our mind. Prudence, cover your risks, be wise, raise money because you have unidentified risks. You don't know the terrain. You could hit a bump. You could hit a, wherever, correct? Your car can get damaged. You might need to iterate. You might need to change from plane to train. You don't know. Then raise. Okay. And never look at the amount of raise. Look at the dilution that you do. Okay. And the second thing, forget what valuation it is. Valuation is a myth. What matters is today I may call, you know, $1 billion company, but are you going to get $1 billion in cash tomorrow? If not, it's all waste. That is in your mind. That is something to be very happy about and to pamper our ego. Valuations are nothing more than that. The real value is when your customer pays you. The real value is when you exit them in the market and your investor gives you the money back. Okay, that is the real value. And I come from a business family, Gujarati family. So हमें तो ये सिखाया जाता है कि भाई कस्टमर का पैसा ही भगवान होता है, बाकी सब पैसे एक या दूसरे तरीके से वैल्यू लीकेज करता है. So be wise when you raise and when you answer those questions about, you know, bootstrapping or not.
Very nicely answered, Deepak bhai. We have seen examples of Zerodha where it became unicorn without any funding support. Zoho is another example where they have become unicorn without any funding support. So there are examples, and there are examples where because of the initial funding, as pointed out by Sunilji, that their initial funding is required to support the innovation. That also we have seen grown manifold, become unicorn and profit making now. It is not just the burn, cash burn, but it all depends on the what kind of business model that we are working on, and create a model where customers has importance and customer pays you for your services and the product. Coming to my next set of questions related to angel investing. We talk about angel investing on a lot of platforms. There are many multiple platforms available who provide angel investment support, and there are PE funds. And when initial funding is available through angel investment, when we go to the PE fund, they say, what is your skin in the game? And that is where the second round and third round funding is delayed, and the growth of that startup. So how can, as a chartered accountant, we can be a role in terms of creating more angel investors? If the official figure is not available, but hardly few thousands angel investors are operating in India, and the ticket size is ranging from 2 lakh rupees to 1 crore rupees individual investor. And when they grow beyond 1 crore rupees, then they become the LPs and so-called the investor in PE funds. So we started, and many entrepreneurs who have grown and who are doing very good in their business, and we are providing financial support to them in terms of becoming their chartered accountant or the audit firm. How can we encourage those entrepreneurs in terms of angel investing in other ventures, because they have set of knowledge in their business and they can share their knowledge also with the investor, with the startup where they can invest, and we as chartered accountant can also become the angel investors. So any inputs from I would ask all the panelists rather, how can we encourage all the chartered accountants for becoming angel investor, and what are the risk factors that they can see, they can foresee, so that they know my investment, it is an asset class, so part of that should go to this asset class.
So, I mean, you know, the fundamental problem, I'll be counterintuitive here or arguing against myself, but our training comes, you know, in between our ability to take risks, correct? We have been taught conservatism, prudence, यार बैलेंस शीट नहीं है किस में इन्वेस्ट करूं, करेक्ट? समझ में नहीं आता है ये बिजनेस, करेक्ट? फी मिल रही है ना, करेक्ट? So we are not able to decide between the risk factors and cannibalizing our own fee with investing in. But we will advocate for that customer, by the way, to the third person, correct? For our client, we'll go to bank, we'll say, अरे invest in this, correct? अरे भाई इसमें पैसे डाल दे, मतलब मस्त business है. But do we put our own investment? No. Why? Because fee ज़्यादा प्यारी होती है, correct? Typically. I think the first step to take for us as a chartered accountant is, if you are advising those people, convert your fee into the angel investing. You have a very, very less risk. Your capital is not at risk. Okay? Only your time you are putting it at the table. And you are getting, at that point in time also, you are getting return. Correct? Second is, you know, I think the awareness, the success stories that we need to make people aware about. Otherwise, you know, there should be no reason why we should not be investing.
तो मेरा बिल्कुल यही मेरा कहना है, अधिकतर जो इंक्यूबेटर्स हैं जो हैंड होल्डिंग कर रहे हैं वो कर ही ऐसे रहे हैं। तो वो क्या करते हैं कि जो फैसिलिटीज दे रहे हैं, जो हैंड होल्डिंग सपोर्ट कर रहे हैं, तो लाइकवाइज परहैप्स वी द चार्टर्ड अकाउंटेंट्स कैन आल्सो डू, आई 100% एग्री विद हिम, कि आप उसमें कहिए कि आप कुछ 1% 2% यू कैन टेक द इक्विटी आल्सो इफ यू हैव द कॉन्फिडेंस इन फैक्ट, एंड यू कैन लीव सम ऑफ द फीस आल्सो। तो आप अपनी फीस है उसको डिवाइड भी कर सकते हैं दो तरह से, कि आप मुझे अभी आप भी स्टार्टअप हो, आप भी आपके पास भी पैसे नहीं है, राइट, यू आर आल्सो एट द आइडिया स्टेज। तो अगर आपको कॉन्फिडेंस है, वी परहैप्स द चार्टर्ड अकाउंटेंट्स कैन डू द बेस्ट ड्यू डिलीजेंस ऑफ द प्रमोटर्स एंड ऑफ द प्रोजेक्ट आल्सो, दोनों काम कर सकते हैं। मुझे ऐसा कोई डाउट नहीं है कि चार्टर्ड अकाउंटेंट्स कोई टेक्निकल जो फील्ड है या टेक्निकल प्रोजेक्ट्स हैं उनमें हम नहीं देख सकते कि इसका क्या फ्यूचर है। डेफिनेटली वी कैन डू, हमारे पास जो ये जो लॉजिक का जो ये जो एक खजाना है, तो वी कैन डेफिनेटली सी, और हमारे पास एक नहीं उस तरह के हो सकते हैं और 10 हमने केसेस देखे हों, हम उनको एडवाइस कर सकते हो कि जो आप सोच रहे हो, ये पहला एक और क्लाइंट था वो फेल हो गया इस वजह से, तो यू कैन डू दीज मच ऑफ इम्प्रूवमेंट। तो हमें मुझे ऐसा लगता है कि 100 में से 90 फेल होते हैं, होने दीजिए कोई बात नहीं, बट वो जो 10 होंगे ना वही वो इतनी रिटर्न दे जाएंगे, एज ही वाज रेफरिंग टू द फ्लिपकार्ट एंड बंसल एंड ऑल दोज थिंग। तो हमें उससे क्या होगा, दो चीज़ होंगी, एक तो हमें कॉन्फिडेंस होगा, हम कहीं जाएंगे उसको अगर इन्वेस्टमेंट पॉइंट ऑफ व्यू से, चाहे वो डेट है, वेंचर डेट है, या कोई फंडिंग है, या इक्विटी है, if we will say that we as a chartered accountant, we as a consultant to this company have also invested something in this company, और फीस में से नहीं, अगर और कोई और अच्छा लगे तो मैं तो कहूँगा कि आप अपना इन्वेस्ट करिए, अपना पैसा भी इन्वेस्ट करिए, परहैप्स यू विल बी एबल टू गेट गुड रिटर्न। अगर आप 10 में छोटा छोटा भी इन्वेस्ट करेंगे, कोई बहुत जरूरी नहीं है कि बहुत बड़ा इन्वेस्टमेंट आपको करना है, आप छोटे छोटे इन्वेस्टमेंट करिए, 2 लाख 5 लाख 10 लाख छोटे छोटे इन्वेस्टमेंट करिए, उसी में से कुछ निकलेंगे, कुछ यूनिकॉर्न बनेंगे उसी में से, और आप भी एक उसके हिस्सेदार होंगे, मैं समझता हूँ।
सर मैं एक पॉइंट ऐड करना चाह रहा हूँ छोटा सा। शुरू में ना हम जैसे जो हमारे जैसे दीपक जी हैं जिनको जानकारी है उनके साथ मिलके हम शुरू कर सकते हैं।
Very valid point. So collaboration is talking about collaborating with the fellow investors.
My suggestion to the fellow chartered accountants, if they want to be an angel investor, sir, generally what is happening in the last this decade, technology startups or technical startups are more than the knowledge startups, you know? And we are professionals, we understand knowledge rather technology. That's the field of the engineers. If we want to invest and we want to be an angel investor, I will suggest that we should develop some knowledge platform. We should recognize some knowledge platform जहाँ पे knowledge की कीमत है, जहाँ पे services, क्योंकि service industry is going to be a industry जहाँ पे बहुत बड़ा फील्ड है। मैं अभी रिसेंटली बैठा था तो बात चल रही थी कि टेक्नोलॉजी स्टार्टअप बनाया जाए, टेक्नोलॉजी स्टार्टअप बनाया जाए। क्या आइडिया क्या था कि मतलब not going to be an engineering startup, rather it will be a technology startup. All the technologies pertaining to 5G and 6G should be brought in on a single platform. 5G चल रहा है, 6G आने वाली टेक्नोलॉजी है, तो केवल टेक्नोलॉजी पार्ट, ओनली टेक्नोलॉजी पार्ट। हम एक स्टार्टअप में हम भी उसमें पार्टिसिपेट कर रहे हैं, तो केवल टेक्नोलॉजी को लाया जाए और उसके जो मेंटोर्स हैं, उसके जो कंसल्टेंट्स हैं, उनको एक प्लेटफॉर्म पर हम लाने की कोशिश कर रहे हैं। बिकॉज वी आर अ पर्सन फ्रॉम सर्विस इंडस्ट्री, हम इंजीनियर्स नहीं हैं बाय डिफॉल्ट, तो हम वहाँ पर जाने के बजाय अगर हम सर्विस इंडस्ट्री में जाएंगे तो आई थिंक दैट विल बी अ फ्रूटफुल एरिया।
Thank you, Sunil ji. One more point, as a chartered accountant, which we come across. So we have been advising the SMEs or the corporates. When we talk about advising those startups, the fee is very less, and that is where we have concern that why should I pay my attention to the startups when the fee component is very less? Rather, I use my time in other corporate where fee component is high. How do we address, or rather, and one point you raised is we get 1%, 2% equity against our fee, and that becomes a larger volume in later time. But still, that is time it will tell when to get that valuation. But before that, even though the fee is less, how can we encourage all our chartered accountants that why encouraging those startups, advising those startups, consulting those startups, still though the fee is less, but it can contribute to overall growth of our economy, as we talked about India getting into the second largest startup economy in the world. Currently, it is third largest. How we as a chartered accountant can support these startups, even though the fee is less? how do we mitigate that the low fee component and support them?
See, in legal, in many countries, this is a practice, and I have seen many lawyers doing this in India, that they decide that out of my total hours that I bill, I'll keep 10% for pro bono work. Okay. Now that is something kind of a resolution you can take for yourself.
It's a big resolution for all the chartered accountants.
Absolutely.
Whatever amount of time that we are investing in our advising our clients, 10% of that or whatever number that you
Whatever
feel
number
good,
you feel comfortable, there is
that
no
should be
rule.
invested in those startups as giving
Absolutely.
back to the society.
Do a pro bono work. Okay. The second is, and again, this is nothing profound or no, geniusness coming out of it. It's what I have seen in the Western parts of the world. In US, typically, how you get the best talent agencies for you available to you, or best technical expertise, or best designers, or best product managers, is that they decide, and with the support of their organizations, they decide that I'll give 20% of my time to mentoring startups in exchange for equities. Correct? Many of the recruitment firms in the US will not charge you, astronomical sums. They will charge you only their administrative cost and the balance they take in equity. Correct? The law firms do a pro bono work, and they do a work in exchange of equity as well. So, and to be very honest, I have seen, for 27 years in the profession, if we try to create a consensus around it, it doesn't work. Okay? What works is you decide for yourself that I'll do 10% of my work, my practice, 10% devoted to this cause, that cause, and that particular cause. And people will then follow. If we try to reach a consensus and we all will do together, I haven't seen in the world that happening ever, unless, we put some regulations.
नहीं, मैं एक बात कहूँगा सर, जहाँ तक फी का सवाल है, चार्टर्ड अकाउंटेंट्स को बहुत बड़ा एरिया सरकार ने दिया है. नॉट ओनली आप प्लानिंग कर सकते हैं उनकी, जैसे मैंने बताया था, मैं एग्जांपल देता हूँ, ATIAC टैक्स प्लानिंग के लिए आपको 3 साल का टैक्स हॉलिडे दिया सरकार ने. केवल 2 ही सेक्शन है जहाँ पे आप टैक्स एग्जम्पशन हैं, बाकी सब खत्म कर दिए. अगर आप उसको सही प्लान कर सकते हैं अपने क्लाइंट्स के लिए, तो आपको फीस भी बहुत मिल सकती है. फॉर एग्जाम्पल, आपने अगर वो 3 साल चूज कर लिए जहाँ आपने 30 करोड़ का प्रॉफिट उसका मान लो उसने कमाया, आप 25% टैक्स से 7.5 करोड़ रुपए तो आपने टैक्स बचा लिया, लेकिन 30 करोड़ और वो 7.5 करोड़ भी आपको फिर आपने मैट तो दिया, लेकिन आपको उसको 15 साल में क्रेडिट मिलना है. ठीक है, आपने उस 30 करोड़ का मल्टीपल लिया तो उसकी वैल्यू 300-400 करोड़ होगी, नहीं होगी? अगर आप उसको प्लान कर सकते हैं कि आपके कौन से 3 साल बेटर होने वाले हैं जहाँ पे आप 100 करोड़ सारी कंडीशन को पूरा करेंगे. और ATIAC इतना सिंपल नहीं है, अपने आप में पूरा चैप्टर है. आपको आर्म्स लेंथ प्राइस का ध्यान रखना है वहाँ पे कि कहीं आर्म्स लेंथ का मैं वायलेशन तो नहीं कर रहा, कहीं मैं ATIAC की बाकी कंडीशन का वायलेशन तो नहीं कर रहा हूँ. सेकेंडली, ईसॉप के ऊपर सरकार ने नए सेट ऑफ रूल्स दे दिए आपको, स्टार्टअप के लिए, सबके लिए नहीं. आपको पता होगा कि ईसॉप दिए क्यों जाते हैं. हम अपने एम्प्लॉयज को रिटेन करने के लिए उसको ज़्यादा सैलरी देनी पड़े तो ईसॉप दे देते हैं हम उसको. तो आपने उसको एक तो कैश आउटफ्लो बचा लिया, आपने प्लान कर लिया, आज कैश आउटफ्लो नहीं करना, ईसॉप दे दीजिए. अब होता क्या था कि जब आपको ईसॉप मिलता था तो जैसे ही आप एक्सरसाइज करते थे तो हम इनकम फ्रॉम सैलरी में उसको टैक्स कर लिया करते थे, और जब हम बेचते थे तो कैपिटल गेन लग जाया करता था हमारे ऊपर. तो हमने सरकार से कहा कि सर ये क्या है, मेरे पास तो पैसा नहीं था तभी तो मैंने ईसॉप दिए, आप मैं 30% टैक्स काटूँ, 192 में जाके TDS विदहेल्ड करूँ. तो हमने एक फार्मूला दिया सरकार को कि सर आप ऐसे ना कीजिए तो स्टार्टअप मर जाएंगे. तो उल्टा दे एक्सेप्टेड अवर डिमांड, और क्या किया, बड़ा अच्छा सिस्टम दे दिया. उन्होंने कहा कि अगर आप एक एलिजिबल स्टार्टअप है, लेकिन फिर मैं कह रहा हूँ आपको पढ़ना पड़ेगा, आप एलिजिबल स्टार्टअप है. एलिजिबल स्टार्टअप कौन से? ATIAC वाले, जिनको इंटर मिनिस्ट्रियल ग्रुप से एग्जम्पशन मिली हुई है. 2 तरह के स्टार्टअप हैं, और रादर स्टार्टअप में 3 रजिस्ट्रेशन होते हैं फॉर इन्फॉर्मेशन. नंबर 1 सिंपल DPIT रजिस्ट्रेशन, number 2 registration is ATIAC registration which you got from from Inter-Ministerial Group, and 30 the angel tax 56 to 7B से आपको एग्जम्पशन के लिए मिलता है. तो सरकार ने कहा कि ठीक है, सेक्शन 17 to 6 को चेंज कर दिया और एक बिल्कुल यूनिक सिस्टम बना दिया. बल्कि हम भी कई बार कहते हैं तो बड़ा यूनिक, ज़्यादा यूनिक हो गया. क्या कहा है कि अगर आप एक एलिजिबल स्टार्टअप पर आप ईसॉप दे रहे हैं, मान लीजिए आपने 500 रुपये का शेयर जो आपने इन्वेस्टर को 500 में दिया और अपने एम्प्लॉय को 50 रुपये में दे दिया एक्सरसाइज करने के लिए, तो पहले सिचुएशन में 450 रुपये पर टैक्स लग जाया करता था. अब इन्होंने कहा कि नहीं, हम टैक्स को डेफर कर रहे हैं फॉर 48 मंथ्स. 48 मंथ तक आपको टैक्स और डेफरमेंट दे दिया, प्रोवाइडेड 3 कंडीशन आप पूरी करेंगे। नंबर 1, आप नौकरी नहीं छोड़ेंगे, तो सरकार ने उसको भी कंडीशन लगा दी, आप नौकरी नहीं छोड़ेंगे। अपने शेयर्स को आप बेचेंगे नहीं इस पीरियड में, ठीक है। तो आप क्या कर सकते हैं, 48 मंथ्स के लिए उसको डेफर कर रहे हैं। आपको इनकम को डेफर नहीं किया सरकार ने, केवल टैक्स को डेफर किया है, जानबूझ के किया है ये, कि उस स्टार्टअप इकोसिस्टम को ना डिस्टर्ब किया जाए। मेरे कहने का मतलब है कि खाली आप अपनी एडवाइजरी से एक वैल्यूएशन क्रिएट करके दे रहे हैं उसको, उसका कैश आउटफ्लो बचा रहे हैं, तो आपको फीस क्यों नहीं देगा भैया? फीस तो देगा
Very
आपको,
valid point.
अच्छी फीस देगा।
अच्छा, मैं एक थोड़ा सा शायद दीपक सर आपसे शायद थोड़ा सा डिफर करूंगा। देखो क्या है, जैसे आपने कहा कि हम एक ऐसा एक रेजोल्यूशन ले लें कि अब जो भी हम सर्विस देंगे तो हम भी 10% जो है वो कन्वर्ट कर लेंगे इन द इक्विटी इनफैक्ट। और मैं बताऊं आपको, आज जो स्टार्टअप आ रहे हैं ना सर, उनका जो एस्पिरेशन है, उनको लगता है कि 1 साल बाद तो जो मेरी वैल्यूशन है वो 50 करोड़ होने वाली है, आई एम गोइंग टू बिकम द यूनिकॉर्न, राइट। तो इट विल डेफिनेटली बी, आई सपोज, नॉट दैट इजी कि वो आपको फीस नहीं दे रहा, वो कहेगा कि मेरी 5% इक्विटी ले लो। तो ये भी पॉसिबल नहीं है वैसे मेरे ख्याल में, बट तो ये डिपेंड करेगा, जो फीस वाला इशू है, देन यू हैव टू डिसाइड कि भाई आपको काम करना है या नहीं करना। जैसे उन्होंने कहा पैशन है, तो आप कुछ पैशन के लिए भी काम कर सकते हैं, आप मदद करेंगे उनकी, तो हो सकता है जब वो बड़ा हो जाएगा, सुनील जी ने कहा, तब वो आपको जरूर समझेगा कि यार उस टाइम पे इन्होंने मेरी मदद की थी, तो अब मैं इनकी फीस अब ज़्यादा बढ़ा देता हूँ, अब मैं किसी और रोल में इनको इन्वॉल्व कर लेता हूँ। तो ये मुझे लगता है कि वो हर केस में आपको इक्विटी मिल जाएगी। मुझे लगता है कि ये शायद थोड़ा प्रैक्टिकली पॉसिबल नहीं होगा। और ये भी एक स्टार्टअप है। देखिए, आप छोटे ऐसे ऐसे भी स्टार्टअप हैं अनिल जी, जैसे उन्होंने कहा कि भाई हम तो 2000 रुपये में कंपनी इनकॉर्पोरेशन कर रहे हैं, और वो भी हो सकता है कि आप लोग कोई शुरू कर सकते हैं। आप करिए कि भाई मैं तो 500 रुपये में कंपनी बनाऊंगा, और महीने में आप 5000 कंपनी बना दीजिएगा। यू सी हाउ मेनी कंपनीज आर बीइंग इनकॉर्पोरेटेड। आप कहिए कि भाई मैं 200 रुपये में स्टार्टअप रजिस्ट्रेशन कराऊंगा, आप देखिए जो 1 लाख रजिस्ट्रेशन हुए, अगले साल 2 साल में वो हो सकता है 2 लाख हो जाए। तो आप 2 लाख में से हो सकता है कि आप उनमें से 10,000 स्टार्टअप रजिस्ट्रेशन आप करा दें, तो सरकार भी आपको कुछ इनाम विनाम दे देगी और आपका भी एक स्टार्टअप चल पड़ेगा। सो इट डिपेंड्स। फीस के लिए एक डॉक्टर 2 रुपये भी लेता है, 5 रुपये लेता है, एक डॉक्टर 5 महीने बाद का अपॉइंटमेंट देता है और वो फीस अपनी 10,000 रुपये भी लेता है। तो इट डिपेंड्स, और सबके लिए मैं समझता हूँ कि देयर इज स्कोप फॉर एवरीबडी। कम फीस में काम करेंगे उसके लिए भी है, तो यहाँ पर जो बिग 4 हैं वो भी हैं, जो बहुत मीडियोकर कंपनी है वो भी हैं, और जो प्रोप्राइटरशिप में अपना काम कर रहे हैं वो भी हैं। तो आई सपोज देयर इज स्कोप फॉर एवरीबडी। उन्हीं में से हम उनको अच्छी सर्विस देंगे, हैंड होल्डिंग करेंगे, एज वी वर डिस्कसिंग ड्यूरिंग द एंटायर सेशन। तो हम हैंड होल्डिंग करेंगे, उन्हीं में से कुछ आगे बढ़ेंगे, उनके साथ वी विल आल्सो ग्रो।
Yeah. So you want to say something?
बस मैं एक बात कहना चाहूँगा कि जितने यहाँ बैठे हैं ना, उनको एक एक स्टार्टअप शुरू करना है अभी 6 महीने के अंदर अंदर, क्योंकि हम सबको पता है कि प्रॉब्लम कहाँ कहाँ है। उनमें से जो प्रॉफिटेबल प्रॉब्लम है ना, उसको ढूंढ के कन्वर्ट करना है। बस यही मैं
Very
कहना
good.
चाहता हूँ। थैंक यू।
So final outcome of the panel discussion is we need to create more startups, create more founders for our support, create more mentors for our support, supported by our chartered accountants. Just 2 more minutes. If any question you have got to the panelist, you can.
Sir, ICI started this initiative of startups were 23. एक मैं प्रैक्टिकल एग्जांपल से, और जो सुनील जी ने कहा कि भाई एवरीवन हैज टू स्टार्ट वन स्टार्टअप इन द कमिंग टाइम। हेलो या सर, एक प्रैक्टिकल एग्जांपल से मैं अपनी बात को थोड़ा कहूँगा और फिर आगे बढ़ाऊँगा। एग्जांपल क्या है कि एक चार्टर्ड अकाउंटेंट की सर लॉटरी लग जाती है और उसको सपोज 5 करोड़ रुपीज़ मिल जाते हैं। तो पत्रकार ने पूछा उससे, बॉस आप क्या करेंगे इसका? तो वो कहता है कि मैं एक प्लॉट खरीदूंगा। फिर क्या करेंगे? इस पे मल्टी स्टोरी हाई राइज ऑफिस बिल्डिंग बनाऊंगा, एक कमर्शियल कम्प्लेक्स बनाऊंगा। फिर क्या करेंगे कि उनको मैं फिर आगे किराए पे दूंगा, कुछ को बेच दूंगा। फिर क्या करेंगे? मैं उन सब की इनकम टैक्स और जीएसटी की रिटर्न फाइल करूंगा। तो एक आउट ऑफ दिस ट्रेडिशनल प्रैक्टिस वी हैव टू कम आउट ऑफ इट। हाँ, देर आर सो मैनी चैलेंजेस फॉर द प्रैक्टिशनर्स हु आर SMPs सर, वो जो छोटा छोटा है। आप अगर बी और सी सिटीज टाउन्स में जाएंगे तो एक चार्टर्ड अकाउंटेंट इन प्रैक्टिस हार्डली अर्न्स इन ए फुल ईयर नॉट मोर देन 40-50 lakhs रुपीज। बात हो रही थी हैंड होल्डिंग की, बात होती है कि भाई एक स्टार्टअप द बिगेस्ट चैलेंज इज यार करंट में पैसा चाहिए मुझे, नहीं तो मेरा कैश फ्लो खराब हो जाएगा। तो ये जो है ना सर, जो छोटे चार्टर्ड अकाउंटेंट्स छोटे शहरों में है ना, उनके लिए बहुत बड़ा चैलेंज है। जो मेट्रोपॉलिटन सिटीज़ में है या मेट्रोज में है, वो तो इस चीज़ को उनके लिए बहुत बड़ा इशू नहीं है कि वो बेसिकली 90% ऑफ द चार्टर्ड अकाउंटेंट्स हु आर इन प्रैक्टिस दे सेल देयर सर्विसेज ऑन क्रेडिट। एडवांस में तो 10% कोई पैसा मिलता होगा सर। एक साल बाद मिलता है। अगर वो ये स्टार्टअप्स को इस तरीके से, ठीक है वो इक्विटी में करेगा, लेकिन वो इक्विटी का उसका वैल्यू कब मिलेगा सर? 2 साल बाद, 3 साल बाद, 4 साल बाद, तब तक उसका अपना कैश फ्लो खराब हो जाएगा। तो आई मीन टू से कि हमें जो है ट्रेडिशनल प्रैक्टिस से बाहर निकलना होगा, क्योंकि इसका फ्यूचर, टेक्नोलॉजिकल चेंजेस हो रही हैं। अब आप देखिए ना, ITR ऑनलाइन फाइलिंग है, असेसमेंट फेसलेस है, फर्स्ट एपेलेट अथॉरिटी CIT अपील फेसलेस है सर, ट्रिब्यूनल भी इट डिपेंड्स अपॉन यू, आप जो है ऑनलाइन हियरिंग करना चाहते हैं या अपीयर होके करना चाहते हैं। तो टेक्नोलॉजिकल चेंजेस बहुत आ रहे हैं, इसलिए जो इनिशिएटिव ICI का
सर
एक
प्लीज आस्क डायरेक्ट क्वेश्चंस व्हाटएवर यू हैव प्लीज।
ओके
वी आर रनिंग शॉर्ट ऑफ टाइम।
ओके थैंक यू सर, थैंक यू।
Any other question to the panelists? Yeah, please.
I'm CA Nitin Jain. Mukesh sir, I had a question from your side. As you just mentioned कि आप आपकी फीस को इक्विटी में कन्वर्ट कर सकते हो in the corporates. So is it allowed with the ethics of the ICI to as can we do it that way?
नहीं देखिए, इसमें मुझे उसमें क्या है, तो आपका उसका सिंपल एक आपको कन्वर्ट करने का क्या है सर? सो यू कैन डिसाइड कि मैं, चलो आपका ये तो एक एग्रीमेंट है ना, आपने कहा कि भाई मैं ये तो फीस लूंगा प्लस मैं आपसे ये, मुझे आप जो कॉस्ट प्राइस है अभी तो मान लो 10 रुपए का शेयर है, तो उतना पैसा तो आप देंगे ना उसको, मुझे आप 2% की इक्विटी दे दीजिए। सो यू आर इन्वेस्टिंग इन दैट कंपनी, जो भी शेयर प्राइस है वो तो आप देंगे उसको।
But sir, as a statutory auditor, can we do it that way?
नो। सो ये देखो, यहाँ पर आज जो बात चल रही है ना बॉस दोस्त, वो क्या चल रही है, अभी तो जैन साहब ने बताया कि भैया ये ऑडिट टैक्स वैक्स आप दिमाग से निकाल दो, आपने प्रॉपर्टी सब बना लिया यार, आप अभी फिर स्टेचुटरी ऑडिट कर रहे हो। तो अच्छा वो भी सुनिए, आप भैया किसी रिश्तेदार के नाम में करवा दीजिए, आपको इन्वेस्ट करना है भाई के नाम में कर दीजिएगा, व्हाट इज हार्म इन दैट? नहीं कर सकते वो भी? किसके रिटर्न भरूंगा? कर लीजिए रिटर्न, ऑडिट भी करिए, ऑडिट करिए, बट आप तो इन्वेस्टमेंट तो किसी भी शेप में कर सकते हैं ना। आप उनको बोलिए, आप जरूरी थोड़ी अपनी फर्म के नाम में आप कहिए मैं तो इसी फर्म में शेयर कैपिटल पे लूंगा, और इंस्टीट्यूट वालों से भिड़े रहो कि भैया ये पॉलिसी चेंज करो। अरे भाई के नाम, भतीजे के नाम, चाचा के नाम, मामा के नाम, पुआ के नाम, किसी के नाम कर दो यार फिर।
Thank you for this raising this question at least, so people will know. Yes, there are options available. Any other question to the panelists?
कोड ऑफ एथिक्स जो है पूरा सजेशन सबसे
20% से कम में
फिर से अभी
कहाँ फर्क
बोलेंगे
है?
जिसको भी
20% वो देगा नहीं
कोड
आपको।
ऑफ एथिक्स में ऐसा इश्यू आता है। मैंने खुद ने भी सजेशन दिया है कि कोई भी स्टार्टअप में हम एडवाइस करते तो उसके सामने पैसे के सामने हमको इक्विटी लिया जाए, तो वहां पे सब सजेशन भेजिए। अभी उसमें चेंजेस चल रहा है, इंस्टीट्यूट इज वेलकमिंग, उसके ऊपर जा रहे हैं इंस्टीट्यूट अभी।
So, Janani bhai, very
Company law
simple,
में
practical.
there is a provision for technical service provider. If you are providing technical services, there is an option available. You can pay that fee as a equity. So same thing what he is talking about, same way we can also raise a point that chartered accountant, if they are providing, so not as an auditor, but as other services, definitely there should be a provision of getting
And there is
fee
a
as
threshold,
equity.
Anil bhai, there is a threshold below which there is no conflict of interest assumed, correct? If you are worried about transaction that, I have to charge 2 lakh rupees statutory audit fee, instead of taking cash, can I take equity? Just do it in 2 transactions, accept cash and pay back cash for acquiring.
Any other? Yeah. Any other question to the panelist? You were raising, I think. Any other question? You were raising some question. No. Okay. Yeah. Thank
Okay,
you
we're
very much.
closing the question answer round. Thank you so much to all our panelists. It's been a great discussion on how CS can leverage the opportunity that's available in the startup era of today's time. From consulting to providing financial services to even coming up as entrepreneurs themselves, this is indeed a way for all of us, and we should ride it without any doubt. With that note, we're super grateful for all of you guys to be here. Now, we are moving to our memento ceremony to facilitate all of our guests here. Okay. Um, can we please have Regional Council Member Hridesh Pankharia and via WIRC Secretary CA Saurav Ajmera to present the memento to our guest CA Anil Goyal, founder of CapSavvy First. Now can we have the memento being presented to CA Sunil Garg, partner at Varma Garg and Associates. Next memento for the session will be going to CA Mukesh Mohan Gupta, President Chamber of India MSME. Next event will be presented to CA Deepak Dhana, co-founder and CEO of DocuX.ai. And the last memento for the session will be going to CA Sunil Garg, Director of Corporate World Samadhan Private Limited. I now request all the panelists to be again seated on your tables. Yes, yes. Okay, to wrap up the session, can we please have CA Hridesh Pankharia, Regional Council Member, ICAI, to extend a vote of thanks?
Hello. Good evening, everyone. I think what an insightful discussion on this topic, startup era opportunity for CA. Can we have a huge round of applause for our panelist speaker, CA Sunil Garg ji, and Garg Sahib, as our moderator sir said, Mukesh Gupta ji and Deepak Dhanak ji. What a wonderful moderation, Anil Goyal ji, on this entire thing. I think if I do not highlight the key points that I actually got from the discussion, it would be unfair. Few of them: investor invest for value creation in the future and not just the present. In the start, let's look at the personal balance sheet of the person, not just the financial balance sheet. In growth stage, we'll look at the financial balance sheet. Innovation in product, process, and service is going to be important. I think what is important is balance sheet is not just, we need not make balance sheet from the income tax perspective, but let's make from the growth perspective. Uh, let's be business building by a team always and not by one person. Startup is not about invention, but all about innovation. It is just, startup is easy and not difficult. It is just about getting frustrated with something and starting up. Do not make business for making money. Make business for getting solutions to your problems, and people will give you money always. Listen to the failure stories first rather than the success stories. And the last one, to not forget valuation. Valuation is a myth. What an insightful discussion on this topic. Have a huge round of applause. Thank you so much to each of our panelists and the moderator. And thank you so much, all of you, for having here. Thank you so much. I'll request our panelist and the moderator and Saurabh Bhai. We have a memento for our MOC who've done a great job. Can we have a huge round of applause for our MOC? And I'll request our panelists to please present a memento to her. Let's have a huge round of applause for, amazing work done day in, day out, yesterday and today. That's Krisha Jain on stage receiving memento for a 2 days MOC. Thank you so much, Krisha. What a wonderful thing. Thank you. Thank you so much, everyone.
Ridesh bhai, thank you for the thanking speech.
All the participants, please be seated. Those who are standing at the last, we request you all to be seated. Good evening. So all are so eagerly waiting to know the results, right? What a day it was. We had more than 15 students in the elocution competition and 5 teams which did the pitch deck presentation. And today we have the valedictory session of this, and we have a great guest with us. CA Anil Singhvi sir, Managing Editor of Zee Business is here. First and foremost, we extend our thanks for quickly accepting our invitation and for being here to address our students, sir. May I now request CA Arpit Kabra, Chairman of WIRC, and CA Pinky Kedia, Vikasa Chairman, to kindly escort the chief guest for the valedictory session, CA Anil Singhvi sir, Editor, Managing Editor, Zee Business, to the dais. It is now time to hear 2 words of wisdom. Sir, we request you to kindly address our students. May I now request the chairman of WIRC to kindly present a bouquet to the guest of the valedictory session. The memento will also be presented by the WIRC chairman and members from WIRC. Thank you, sir. We request you to kindly come forward and
Hello, friends. Am I audible? Yeah, okay. Good evening, everyone. अरे वाह, क्लासरूम वाली फीलिंग आई है एकदम. नहीं नहीं ठीक है. So you guys are CA students, right? Okay. अरे यार CA क्यों कर रहे हो? हाँ कुछ और नहीं CA क्यों? Anyone? Can someone answer me? Girls there. ऐसा ज्ञान वाली बातें मेरे लिए छोड़ो, ये सब मैं करता हूँ. Very nice.
सर रिश्ता अच्छा आएगा.
रिश्ता अच्छा आएगा. ये गलतफहमी मुझे भी थी. और
सर द आर्ट ऑफ मनी लॉन्ड्रिंग.
आर्ट ऑफ मनी लॉन्ड्रिंग.
यस सर यस.
मोदी जी की नजर है तुम्हारे ऊपर. फोटो वोटो ले लिए अभी. ये देखो ये ले रहा है, ये देखो. हाँ और
Sir, we are financial doctors. Because Doctors Day comes on July 1, and it's not coincidence we get CA Day also on July 1. They are doctors saving lives. We are saving finances. We are financial doctors.
Very nice. They are health doctors, you are wealth doctors. Right, very nice. Anyone else? Yes. Any random answer, whatever you feel like. दिल से बात करो यार. हाँ.
CAs are present in every field. I think जो CA कर सकता है वो कुछ भी कर सकता है आगे. तो I think it
ये
makes you
किसने बोला
little-
है? ऐसा किस महापुरुष ने बोला है?
आज ही अमन गुप्ता सर आए थे आज
अच्छा।
मॉर्निंग में. तो उन्होंने
ओके. यस. इधर माइक दीजिए जरा आगे. Here in the first row.
Sir, I aspire to be an entrepreneur. I aspire to be an entrepreneur. So CA is the best route for that because it gives us the best understanding of any business.
Okay, entrepreneur, right. Any other answer? बाकी इसलिए कर रहे हैं कि पापा ने बोला है सीए कर ले. हाँ, बाकी लोग इसलिए कर रहे हैं ना? नहीं? जॉब वॉब लग जाएगा अच्छी सी या फिर कुछ कर लेंगे. See, everyone should have a purpose. Whatever you do, there should be a purpose. पैसा कमाना भी पर्पस है, शादी करना भी पर्पस है. किसी को करनी थी यहाँ पे शादी कि अच्छा रिश्ता आएगा. The idea is, this is the time in your life you will become what you think. When I was in 8th standard, मैं कैसे सीए बना बताता हूँ आपको. मैं 8वीं क्लास में पढ़ता था. मेरी एक मौसी थी तो उनकी शादी हो रही थी और मेरे मौसा जी सीए हुआ करते थे. ठीक है. और वो रेमंड्स में जॉब करते थे और उस समय उनकी शादी के जस्ट पहले ऐसा पता चला कि ये भाई रेमंड्स वाले इनको है ना कीनिया भेज रहे हैं, नैरोबी. तो अपने दिमाग में बैठ गया कि यार सीए बहुत बड़ा आदमी होता है, फॉरेन जाने को मिलता है. करेक्ट. रीजन कुछ भी हो, जब आपने टारगेट चुन लिया है, गोल बना लिया है कि मुझे ये करना है, तो बॉस एकदम फाड़ दो, फिर करके दिखाना है. दूसरी चीज, आप सबके अंदर है ना, ऊपर वाले ने कुछ ना कुछ अच्छी क्वालिटी भेजी है. सबके पास है. कोई आदमी दिन भर वीडियो गेम खेलता है, उसके पास भी क्वालिटी है. वीडियो गेम खेलना भी हर किसी की बस की बात नहीं है. आजकल तो वीडियो गेम खेलने के पैसे बन जाते हैं. राइट. मेरे में भी एक अच्छी क्वालिटी भेजी ऊपर वाले ने. पूछो क्या? एनीवन? मुझे अंग्रेजी नहीं आती थी यार, इंग्लिश नहीं आती थी. लिख लेता था, बोलने में बड़ी मुश्किल होती थी. मतलब ऐसा ये शुरू में जब है ना स्टेज पे खड़ा होता था, ये ऐसे होता है ना बहुत लोगों के साथ, वो पूरा शिवरिंग कर रहे हैं ये सब. लेकिन आज आप सब लोग सुन रहे हैं, ताली बजा रहे हैं. क्यों? क्योंकि मैं हिंदी बोलता हूं. क्यों? राइट. कोई भी चीज आपकी वीकनेस नहीं है. आपकी वीकनेस आपकी स्ट्रेंथ बन सकती है. तो पहली चीज तो ये समझ लो बॉस कि ऊपर वाले ने एक ही पीस पैदा किया आपके जैसा, और कोई दूसरा है ही नहीं और होगा भी नहीं. सो आपके अंदर क्या क्वालिटी वो पहचानिए. तो मैं आज है ना 2-3 आपको वो बढ़िया ऐसी लाइफ की फिलोसॉफी वाली चीजें बताता हूँ जो आपकी लाइफ में बड़ी काम आएगी. अच्छा, अब कभी कभी आपके साथ ये होता होगा कि कोई डिसीजन लेना है, इंपॉर्टेंट डिसीजन है लाइफ का, गर्लफ्रेंड के अलावा, बॉयफ्रेंड के अलावा, वो इंपॉर्टेंट में नहीं गिनता, उनके अलावा. फॉर एग्जाम्पल एग्जाम में बैठना है, एक ग्रुप दूं दोनों ग्रुप दूं, ऐसा आता है ना डिसीजन मन में. हाँ, आता है. मतलब सीए बिग 4 से करूं या छोटी फर्म से करूं, साथ में सीएस भी कर लूं नहीं करूं, काइंड ऑफ. राइट. देयर सो मेनी क्वेश्चंस इन योर माइंड वेयर यू सीक आंसर्स, और ये पता नहीं कि मैं क्या करूं. ऐसा किसी आप सबके साथ होता है? क्या करते हो फिर आप? कितने लोग अपना दिमाग लगाते हैं, दिमाग लगा के यार मेरा दिमाग ये कह रहा है, ये करना चाहिए. कितने लोग ऐसा करते हैं बताइए? है ही नहीं क्या आप लोगों में? किसी में नहीं है? अरे हाथ खड़ा करो यार, शर्मा नहीं, क्या बात है? हाँ, दिमाग. हाँ हाँ. और कितने लोग दिल से करते हैं कि मेरा दिल ये कह रहा है यार, मतलब फॉर एग्जांपल, मतलब मुझे धीरज जी से दोस्ती करनी नहीं करनी, आरपी जी से करनी नहीं करनी, मैं या तो दिमाग लगा के बोला अरे यार आरपी जी WRC चेयरमैन है, लाइफ में कभी काम आएंगे, इनसे दोस्ती कर लेते हैं, है ना, 4-5 बार बुलाएंगे स्टेज पे, तारीफ वारीफ करेंगे, अनिल अच्छा है ये। सो और दूसरा एक ये भी होता है कि यार दिल मिल रहा है यार, बंदा बहुत अच्छा है, दिल का अच्छा है, मतलब रेस्पेक्ट देता है और बहुत खुद भी अच्छा काम कर रहा है, तो इसके साथ कुछ कहे तो करना चाहिए। जैसे पकड़ के मुझे ले आए तो मैं दिल से आया हूँ, जबरदस्ती तो ला नहीं सकते ना, और दिमाग से मुझे आना तो मैं बोल देता, मेरे पास तो ऑप्शन नहीं, बस सर्किट जाना है, मुझे बहुत काम है, अर्जेंट है। कई बार हमारे पास नहीं भी होता काम, तब भी हम प्रिटेंड करते हैं बहुत काम है। लाइफ में एक रूल बनाइए आप लोग, और ये बहुत काम आएगा, और इस एज से करना शुरू करेंगे बहुत काम आएगा। जब भी आपके कोई डिलेमा है, ऐसी सिचुएशन है कि वेयर यू आर कंफ्यूज, कंप्लीटली कंफ्यूज, व्हाट टू डू व्हाट टू नॉट, आप अपने आप से पूछिए आपका दिमाग क्या कहता है, आपका दिल क्या कहता है। इफ यू गेट 2 डिफरेंट आंसर्स, एक कोई तो चूज करेंगे ना, और उसके बेसिस पे करेंगे। नाउ स्टार्ट थिंकिंग अबाउट योर डिसीजंस गोइंग फॉरवर्ड इन फ्यूचर। 3, 4, 5, 10 ऐसी सिचुएशन आती है, इट कुड बी एनी सिचुएशन, वेदर आई शुड गो आउट फॉर अ डिनर with someone or not, whether I should attend that program or not, correct? ऐसे कई बार आपके ऐसे डिसीजंस होंगे, छोटे होंगे बड़े होंगे, जो आपको अलग अलग तरह के डिसीजंस आ रहे हैं। स्टार्ट थिंकिंग अबाउट दैट एंड स्टार्ट noting what kind of decision you have taken at that point in time, considering your brain or your heart, and eventually you will find which one is better for you, and that would help you a lot in your personal and professional life, choosing right from choosing your life partner to choosing your job, or to, I mean, अब समझो आप में से कोई रैंकिस्ट है, गोल्ड मेडलिस्ट है, आपके पास बहुत सारे जॉब ऑफर आएंगे, right? अब मैं ये एक्स कंपनी लूँ, वाई कंपनी लूँ, राइट? यार इसमें सैलरी बहुत अच्छी मिल रही है, लेकिन इसमें प्रोफाइल अच्छा है, यार ये कंपनी बहुत अच्छी है, लेकिन यार ये इसमें ये कम अच्छा है, इसमें ये ज्यादा अच्छा है, ये होगा, राइट? सो स्टार्ट थिंकिंग अबाउट दैट कि विच वन वर्क्स बेटर फॉर यू। काम की चीज है, करके देखिए, ट्रस्ट मी, आपकी लाइफ में बहुत काम आएगा, मेरे काम आता है कई बार। मैं दिल की सुनता हूँ, आई मीन सबका अपना अपना होगा, मेरे ज्यादा फैसले मैं दिल से लेता हूँ। फॉर एग्जाम्पल, अब मैं रोज मार्केट का एनालिसिस कर, कितने लोग देखते हैं आप लोग? कोई में इतने लोग क्या पढ़ाई कब करते हो? हाँ, बस पढ़ाई वढ़ाई करो, मैं तो यही हूँ, कहीं नहीं जा रहा, बाद में भी देख लेना चैनल। मार्केट में ज्यादा इंटरेस्ट नहीं लेना है, सीए कर ली तो ठीक है, उसके बाद बढ़िया, उसके बाद क्या पैसे भी होते हैं ना आप लोगों के पास में, अभी तो आपके पास पैसे ही नहीं, देख के भी क्या करोगे, राइट? कई बार जो मार्केट है, आज मार्केट में बहुत बाइंग हो रही है, बहुत सेलिंग हो रही है, कभी आपने सोचा है वाकई में हो रही नहीं हो रही? मार्केट में ट्रेड कब होता है? कोई खरीद रहा है, कोई बेच रहा है, राइट? देयर एनी गिवन मोमेंट देयर आर टू पीपल हैविंग टू डिफरेंट thought process or approach about the market or a stock, right? Someone is buying, someone is selling, then only trade is happening, otherwise तो upper circuit और lower circuit होगा ना, correct? So then how can you say whether buying is happening or selling is happening when the trade is equal? जितना buy हुआ उतना ही तो sell हुआ है, right? Correct? That's where your sixth sense comes in picture. You have that observation power. Data is same with everyone, correct? आप वो क्वालिटी डेवलप करिए कि ऐसी कॉम्प्लेक्स सिचुएशन में आपका डिसीजन क्या होना चाहिए। बस आप सब लोगों को किसी कंपनी का सीईओ बनना है, एमडी बनना है, अपने बिजनेस चलाने हैं, कुछ बड़ा काम करना है लाइफ में, ऐसा आलतू फालतू करने के लिए पैदा नहीं हुए, समझ गए? कौन कुछ अलग हटके, कुछ नया बड़ा कुछ करने का किसका मन है आप में से? यस, दैट गर्ल, आई लाइक यू। ये हाथ एकदम ऊपर, हाथ स्ट्रेट रखो, हाँ स्ट्रेट, अरे जोश से तो हम पूरा, हाँ ये भी ना, अरे क्या मजा आएगा बॉस, कुछ करके निकलना है। यू आर फॉर्चुनेट, कि आप इतने नोबल प्रोफेशन में आए। मैंने 35 साल की उम्र में मैं मीडिया में आया, 35 साल में। मैं CA/CS कर चुका था तब तक, जॉब्स कर रहा था। अच्छा, ज़िंदगी में कभी पहले कैमरा, लाइट, स्टूडियो, एक्शन ये वो सब कुछ देखा नहीं। मीडिया की ABCD नहीं आती, न मास कम्युनिकेशन पढ़ा, न जर्नलिज्म पढ़ा, न मीडिया पढ़ा, कुछ नहीं। कूद गए ऐसे ही, होगा देखा जाएगा। अपॉर्चुनिटी मिली, पकड़ ली। क्यों? 35 साल की उम्र में 2 बच्चे हो गए, वाइफ भी है, घर चलाना होता है, जिम्मेदारियां, राइट? कीड़ा क्यों काटा भाई फिर ऐसा? लेकिन जब आप लाइफ में कुछ अलग हट के करने की सोचोगे, अब मेरे जैसे यार ऐसा मार्केट में हजारों अनिल सिंह भी होंगे, थे, होंगे, आगे भी रहेंगे। लेकिन अगर मैं कुछ अलग हट के करूंगा तभी तो मैं कुछ कर सकता हूं। और सेकेंडली, रिस्क नहीं लूंगा तो आगे कैसे बढ़ूंगा? और तीसरा जो सबसे इंपॉर्टेंट है, देखो भाई ऐसा है कि अपनी दुकान नहीं चली, मीडिया वीडिया नहीं आया, टीवी नहीं आया, जर्नलिज्म नहीं आया, कोई बात नहीं, CA की डिग्री है ना। किसने बोला था CA तो कुछ भी कर सकता है? ये मैंने ही कहा था कई सारे इंटरव्यू में कहा है कि अगर मेरे पास में डिग्री है तो मेरे में वो कॉन्फिडेंस है कि मैं कुछ भी कर सकता हूं। सो आप सब लोगों को पहला काम ये करना है, क्या क्या CA की डिग्री लेनी है। हाँ, मुझे ना बच्चों से बात करने में, हाँ, मतलब आप लोगों को लगता होगा आप बच्चे नहीं है, लेकिन मुझे तो आप बच्चे ही लगते हो। हाँ, तो मुझे आप लोगों से बात करने में मजा इसलिए आता है। और इसीलिए जब अर्पित ने मुझे बोला कि बच्चों को एड्रेस करना है, चलो बड़ा मजा आता है। सो मेरा पॉइंट ये है, देखो बस ऐसा है, मैं ऑनेस्टली बताऊं, मैं कोई दुनिया बदल नहीं सकता, मैं कोई बहुत भाषण देने वाला आदमी भी नहीं हूं। आप में से 5-7 बच्चे अगर मुझे सीरियसली लेके कुछ अलग सोच ले, अलग करने की करे, कुछ नया करे, तो मेरा यहाँ आना सफल है। मैं उतना ही एक्सपेक्टेशन रखता हूँ, लाइफ में कम रखता हूँ। सो मेरा पॉइंट ये है कि लाइफ में कुछ अलग हट करके करने की सोचो। हर एक में आपकी कोई वीकनेस है, उस वीकनेस को आप स्ट्रेंथ बनाओ, आपका डिसीजन मेकिंग पावर स्ट्रॉन्ग करो, डिग्री ले लो। और उस आपको अभी लगेगा, नो डाउट मुझे भी लगता था कि बस एक बार यार डिग्री आ जाए, लाइफ में सारी प्रॉब्लम खत्म। आपको भी लगता है ना ऐसा? किस किस को लगता है ऐसा? एक बार डिग्री आ जाए, डिग्री आने के बाद मिलना मुझे, सारी प्रॉब्लम शुरू वहीं से होती है उसके बाद में। और जितना ज़्यादा पढ़ोगे बाद में उतना ज़्यादा पढ़ना पड़ेगा, लेकिन यही तो ज़िंदगी है, करेक्ट? आज भी मैं हर रोज़ रात को सोने के पहले 1.5 घंटा पढ़ाई करता हूँ। वॉट एवर टाइम आई रीच होम, even if I'm reaching at 1 o'clock, I still study for 1.5 hours. Why? So at least whatever 3 hours, 4 hours I get a sleep, it must be a sound sleep, right? नहीं तो back of the mind वही रहता है, यार काम नहीं हुआ, होमवर्क बाकी है, ये करना, डेटा देखना बाकी है। So आपका वो पैशन होना चाहिए जो काम करो। So अभी जो सेंटेंस मैंने वहाँ बोला, फिर से आपको बोलता हूँ, अगर आपने सुना है, do what you love, love what you do. That is your success mantra. अब मैं I don't know कितना टाइम है, अगर कुछ 1-2 सवाल लेने हैं तो I can take the question. किसी को कुछ पूछना है तो पूछिए मुझे। I love to take questions from you guys. I mean, ask anything. हाँ, ब्रेकअप से भी कुछ है तो पूछ लेना, ऐसा कुछ नहीं।
सर CA/CS के बाद मीडिया लाइन में कैसे ट्रांजिशन
अरे
हुआ?
गलती से यार, अब कुछ आता नहीं था। CNBC just started a Hindi business channel that point in time. They were looking for a person who understand market, who speaks good Hindi and should be a good journalist. तो वो तीनों क्वालिटी एक साथ किसी में मिल रही नहीं थी। या मतलब अच्छा जर्नलिस्ट है तो मार्केट नहीं आता, या आता है तो हिंदी नहीं आती। अच्छा, मेरे में भी 2 ही क्वालिटी मिली थी, ये हिंदी आती थी, मार्केट और बिजनेस समझ में आता था, लेकिन मुझे भी जर्नलिज्म नहीं आता था। तो करते करते उन्होंने ही पैसे दिए, मैं सीखा। जैसे आप आर्टिकलशिप कर रहे हो, आपने CA का एग्जाम दिया, रिजल्ट आया, C हो गए, अचानक से एक दिन सुबह C हो गए, कुछ बदला लाइफ में? जो काम पहले कर रहे थे वही काम करने के लिए बाद में पैसे मिलते हैं ना। मेरे साथ 35 इयर्स की एज में ही हुआ, जो नहीं आता था उसको करने के पैसे मिले। बस करते करते बस पैशन होना चाहिए करने का। यार मौका मिला ना जिंदगी में, जो भी लोग जॉब करो ना, एक चीज बताना चाहता हूँ, जॉब को इस तरह से करो कि जॉब नहीं करो, मेरा धंधा है, मेरा बिजनेस है, मेरी ऑर्गेनाइजेशन है, तो आदमी जॉब में भी प्रोग्रेस करेगा। नहीं तो लोग क्या था, जो मैं 10 से 5 नौकरी, मेरे को क्या करना है, मैं फ्राइडे नाइट पार्टी करूंगा, ये वो सब ऐसा मरने तो जिसकी। जॉब ऐसे करो कि आपका खुद का है, तब आपकी जो ग्रोथ होगी ना उसमें भी जबरदस्त होगी, दिल लगा के एकदम।
सर एक फॉलोअप क्वेश्चन और है कि अपॉर्चुनिटी जी मीडिया से आपके पास आई थी कि आपने कैसे अप्रोच किया था, मतलब प्रैक्टिकली कैसे हुआ था जब आप
नहीं, मैं तो सीएनबीसी ज्वाइन किया था। अच्छा, बाद में?
हाँ, मतलब नहीं, जब भी आपने मीडिया स्टार्ट किया था
नहीं,
तो
मैंने अप्रोच किया था, मैंने किया था। तो मेरे कॉमन फ्रेंड थे, उन्होंने बताया कि ऐसा ऐसा नया चैनल शुरू हो रहा है। मैंने कहा यार चलते हैं, ट्राई करते हैं। मैंने किया था। दे डिडंट अप्रोच मी, somehow they were kind enough to accept me whatever I was, but फिर मैंने मेहनत की थोड़ा। ठीक जी। एनीवन? यस
सर, कोई एक चीज़ जो आज के टाइम पे सीए स्टूडेंट या नॉर्मल जनरल स्टूडेंट में मिसिंग है, जो आप चाहते हैं कि ये चीज़ अभी से कल के
यार है ना, वो शॉर्टकट वाला बड़ा मामला गड़बड़ा आजकल यार। मतलब है ना, मतलब ये मेरे साथ मेरे स्टाफ में भी मुझे बड़ा इशू आता है। और सबको मतलब है ना, आजकल सबको क्रेडिट तुरंत चाहिए, जल्दी चाहिए। मतलब थोड़ा भी काम किया ना तो मतलब वो क्रेडिट दे ही दो, मतलब ऐसा। थोड़ा पेशेंस रखो यार। मतलब फ्रेंकली बताऊं, मैं आज जिस लेवल पे मैंने करियर 35 साल की उम्र में शुरू किया, मैं 50 साल में जाके अनिल सिंह भी बना और रोज 6 घंटे शो करता हूँ, लेकिन मुझे फर्क नहीं पड़ा। मेरे स्टाफ में ऐसे लोग हैं 3-3 मिनट की लिंक करते हैं और अपने आप को शाहरुख समझते हैं। सो वो थोड़ा यार है ना, आज की जनरेशन में आई माइट बी साउंडिंग लिटिल अंकल टाइप, है ना, यार अंकल आके ऐसे ही बोल रहे हैं, लेकिन थोड़ा वो पेशेंस नई जनरेशन में आना चाहिए कि वेट फॉर योर टाइम, आएगी चीज़ें। कई बार क्या होता है, आपको वक्त से पहले चीज़ें मिल जाती है। अगर आप इतने खुश नसीब हैं, आपको वक्त से पहले चीज़ें मिली है, तो आप उसको प्रूव करो कि आप उसके वर्थ हो और आपको इतनी मेहनत करनी चाहिए। कभी कभी ये होता है कि आप अच्छा कर रहे हो लेकिन आपका वक्त नहीं आया, आपको चीज़ नहीं मिल रही है, तो फ्रस्ट्रेट मत हो। कभी भी खराब आपका अच्छा किया काम खराब नहीं होगा, वो वेस्ट नहीं जाएगा। मैं शुरुआत में मुझे टीवी पर ना मुश्किल से 1 मिनट का टाइम मिलता था बोलने का। 1 मिनट में, आज तो मैं 6 घंटा शो करता हूँ, एक मिनट में मुझे मार्केट समझाना है। अब मैं सोच रहा यार 1 मिनट में कैसे समझाऊं? तो मैंने एक ही चीज़ सोची, बॉस अगर मुझे लास्ट बॉल मिली, एक ही बॉल मिली खेलने के लिए, 4 या 6 मारना है, तो मारूं या छोड़ूं, मैं कैसे कर सकता हूं, है ना। अगर मैंने मार दिया तो बन गया ना हीरो, और नहीं मारा तो ठीक है ना यार। ज्यादा से ज्यादा लोग क्या यार, ठीक है आया बंदा, बैट तो घुमाया ना, कनेक्ट नहीं हुआ या कैच हो गया, करेक्ट। सो वो एफर्ट मत छोड़ो और अपने टर्न का एक बॉल भी मिले ना, ठोक के आना है। यस यस, इन द फर्स्ट रो एंड लास्ट रो, बहुत जी।
हाय सर, हाउ टू चैनलाइज योर इंटरेस्ट सर? कि बहुत सारी चीज़ों में इंटरेस्ट आता है कि ये भी कर ले वो भी कर ले, पर एक ही जगह पे डायरेक्शन में फोकस करके कैसे चैनलाइज करना अपने इंटरेस्ट को?
बड़ा मुश्किल सवाल है। इंटरेस्ट बताओ तुम्हारे क्या क्या है, मैं चैनलाइज कर देता हूँ।
सीए में भी बहुत सारे सब्जेक्ट्स में अभी ऑडिट, लॉ, इंटरप्रिटेशन में बहुत ज़्यादा इंटरेस्ट है, तो फिर कैसे चूज करना कि आर्टिकलशिप किस हिसाब से चाहिए अपने को? फिर मिड साइज और बिग 4 में कैसे चूज करना? फिर सीए
लाइफ है ना राजा, इतनी कॉम्प्लिकेटेड है नहीं जितना तू सोच रहा है। चल यार, सब कर। कौन सा तेरे को जिंदगी में आज ही डिसीजन ले लेना है ना। जो जो चीजें तुझे 4 अच्छी लग रही, चारों करना। उसके बाद साल भर, 6 महीने बाद, 2 साल बाद, there is nothing wrong in gaining experience from all across. Nobody is asking you to take a decision about your career today itself. If you are interested in 4 things, pursue all 4. उसके बाद धीरे धीरे तेरा पिरामिड बनेगा ना। 4 में से आप अच्छा यार ये 2 कम अच्छी है, ये 2 है, अब इसमें से 2 में, और फिर जब 2 ही रह जाएगी तब कंफ्यूजन होगा, तब दिल और दिमाग, फॉर्मूला याद है, बस वही लगा जी।
Sir, what was the most challenging moment that you faced during pursuing your CA and during your life?
ये तो सीसी देने जाना पड़ता था संडे को सुबह सुबह। अरे बाप रे, संडे टेस्ट होते थे आप लोगों के? नहीं होते थे यार। मैं तो गलत ही पैदा हो गया एक जनरेशन पहले। सच्ची में आप लोगों की जनरेशन में पैदा था, क्या मजे करता था। सी के टाइम सी, मतलब चैलेंज इन द सेंस, उस समय हमारे पास इतना, मतलब वो क्या कहना चाहिए, न फैमिली के पास उतना स्पेंडिंग पावर होता था, न इतने पढ़ने के लिए, चीज़ों के लिए चीज़ें होती थी। आई वॉज फॉर्चुनेट टू बी इनटू राजस्थान हॉस्टल, राजस्थान विद्यार्थी गृह था, तो हमें फिर भी थोड़ा बहुत वहाँ से गाइडेंस हमारे सीनियर से मिल जाता था। सो वो टाइम अलग था, हर एक टाइम के अलग चैलेंजेस है। उस समय द बिगेस्ट चैलेंज वॉज लैक ऑफ इंफॉर्मेशन, एंड टुडे द बिगेस्ट चैलेंज इज बॉम्बार्डिंग ऑफ इंफॉर्मेशन। अभी आपके पास सब कुछ है, लेकिन आपको डिस्ट्रैक्ट करने के लिए क्या नहीं है बॉस। सो बिगेस्ट चैलेंज फॉर टुडेज जनरेशन इज डिस्ट्रैक्शन। फॉर आवर जनरेशन वी नेवर यूज टू गेट, हमको मतलब कंपनी एनालिसिस करना है, वो एनुअल रिपोर्ट आती तब पता चलता था। एनुअल रिपोर्ट के लिए हम मांगते थे इधर उधर से, एक शेयर लेके रखते थे कि चलो इसी बहाने एनुअल रिपोर्ट आएगी, पढ़ेंगे। सो वो टाइम था। आजकल तो एक क्लिक पे आपके स्क्रीन पे सब कुछ मिल जाता है, करेक्ट। सो हर एक वक्त के अलग अलग चैलेंजेस है। आपके वक्त का चैलेंज एक ही है, डिस्ट्रैक्शन। डोंट डिस्ट्रैक्ट योरसेल्फ फ्रॉम आउटर नॉइज। बॉस आपके अंदर ही आपका दुश्मन बैठा है, बाहर कोई है ही नहीं। सो द बिगेस्ट चैलेंज इज फोकस ऑन व्हाट यू आर डूइंग, डोंट गेट डिस्ट्रैक्टेड, दैट्स इट।
Agreed, sir, by your words. Thank you so much. Thank you.
हेलो सर। सर एज अ स्टूडेंट सर हमें मार्केट के लिए क्या अप्रोच करनी चाहिए सर? वेदर
देखना भी मत टीवी चैनल खोल के, मेरा बता रहा हूँ मैं तुम्हें।
सर इंटरेस्ट होता है सर, उसके जानने की इच्छा होती है तो नहीं करना चाहिए ये।
पढ़ाई कर पहले, डिग्री ले, सीए करने के बाद मेरे पास आना, मैं तेरे को इंटर्न रखूंगा।
ओके सर,
हाँ,
श्योर।
पढ़ाई करो यार। सी अब एक चीज बता, अगर मुझे बोले मेरा सीए किया, सीएस किया, आईसीडब्ल्यू इंटर किया, फाइनल रह गया, मैंने जॉब कर लिया, शादी भी कर ली, बच्चे हो गए, सब चलते रहे, अब आप मुझे बोलो आज फाइनल का एग्जाम दे बेटा,
हो ही नहीं सकता।
नहीं होता ना। हर चीज का एक वक्त होता है। ये वक्त तुम्हारे पढ़ाई करने का है। इस वक्त जितनी पढ़ाई, मार्केट कहीं नहीं जा रहा है यार। अगर किसी को लगता था कि 6,000 पे निफ्टी का लाइफ हाई बन गया, आज 19,000 है, हो सकता है तेरे जमाने में 40,000 होगा, उसके बाद 4 लाख भी होगा। यही है, ये कहीं नहीं जाने वाला। पैसा कमाने के लिए उम्र पड़ी है, पैसा आने के पहले ही पढ़ सकता है, बाद में नहीं पढ़ पाएगा कभी भी। तो जो पढ़ना है अभी पढ़ लो बस।
बिल्कुल सर, थैंक यू सर।
जी डन। और कोई? ओके, थैंक यू सो मच, थैंक्स अ लॉट।
Chairman is coming. Mangesh Kunare, sir. Thank you, sir, for that wonderful and motivational speech. So, all of us are waiting for the results, right? Yes, so, we had 15 participants in the elocution and 5 pitch deck teams. It was a very, very close competition. Pitch deck, all the presentations were really great. We thank the judges who are here. We have on stage the chairman of SSEB, CA Mangesh Kinare, sir. And there is one more person because of whom today who spearheaded the startup sphere, none other than CA Dheeraj Khandelwal, sir. I think Dheeraj Khandelwal, sir, also requires a standing ovation here for coming up with such a beautiful startup sphere, especially to Dheeraj Khandelwal, sir, for coming up. What else can be the best place for the students to start your pitch deck presentation than the startup sphere? I now request, can we make some noise? Okay. Louder? Fine. So we'll first start with the distribution of the participant certificates for the elocution.
Before that, let me, on behalf of all the students, thank Dheeraj ji for giving this beautiful platform for our students. In fact, it was his insistence that pitch deck competition should be held during the course of this startup sphere. So big round of applause to Dheeraj ji.
I request the dignitaries on the dais to kindly come forward and hand over the participant certificates for the elocution. I request all the participants to come through the right side and walk out to the left. The memento box will be here. After the valedictory is over, you can collect it. Ruchika Agarwal, Palak Singh, Okay, you can come by the other side. Raghav Chaudhary. Ruchika Agarwal. Palak Singh. Raghav Chaudhary. Piyush Gupta. Arvind Kumar Saravji. Maskan Vadera. Sahil Lakshmipat Sonawat. Arth Amit Chandra. Kaush Bataria. Karak Vijay Vargi. Jairam Lakshman. Nidhi S. Kakat. Kushi Chaumal. And Yuvraj Singh Bhatti. We will now move on to honor the participants of the Snehal Jain. Sneha Jain.
To all those who are wondering what is it that we are giving you, we are giving you the ICI Tower, Mumbai, the WIRC head office, where you all have participated. This is a memento that you can always display, where you had all performed, and therefore this memento is given to felicitate each one of you for your performance here in Mumbai. Congratulations.
The pitch deck participants: Ashish Narayan Swami, Jignesh Mathur, Gokula Krishnan D. Please come in the order as I call your names. Ashish Narayan Swami, Jignesh Mathur, Gokula Krishnan D. Ayush Gupta, Jairam Lakshman, Gaurang Manish Kandelwal, Ayan Amit Rajo, Aryaman Gautam Shah, requesting all the regional council members to also join the stage. Abhishek Sharma, Bharat Arora, Aman Kedia, and Aryan Gupta. We will now move on to declare the winners of the elocution competition. So can we go ahead? You want the winners? We'll do the runners first. The second place goes to, any clues? Palak Singh. From city region is not there. This is from the city. No, it's not there. She's all the way from Guwahati, EIRC. She gets a cash prize of 11,000 rupees. And the winner of the elocution competition, on account of 3, 2, and 1, it is Kasak Vijay Vargi. Where is she from? SIRC. She's from SIRC. The first place goes to the SIRC. We will now go on to declare the winners and the runners of the first ever pitch deck competition. So, we'll start with the runner-up. It goes to the team which came with an idea called Trans Walks. Aryaman Gautam Shah, Ayan Amit Raja, and Gaurang Manish Kandelwal. They are from Mumbai. Nagpur, Western Indian region. Can we make some noise? They get a cash prize of 11,000. And the winners of this pitch deck competition. Any guess? Can we make some noise if it is EIRC, NIRC, CIRC? Okay, the winners of the pitch deck competition is the team which came with a wonderful idea on virtual reality on education. Team D from SIRC. Jairam Lakshman, Ayush Gupta, and Gokula Krishnan D. And the best part is the difference between the runner-up and the winner is just a mark. Just one mark. Can you call all the participants on the stage now? We request all the participants to quickly come to the stage after this, a group photograph.